Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
From the home of what the Americans call the greatest spectacle in racing, we travel to somewhere a little bit more idyllic, out further east to the hills of Virginia. We make our way to, well, what was once a country resort, basically, but now one of America's most popular road course venues at Virginia International Raceway, as it plays host to tonight's action for the V8SCOPS Support Series in 2023. My name is Danny Amon. Jay Kennedy going to be alongside me on comms and production tonight. Unfortunately, missing Reese Garner. All the best to Reese. Unfortunately, not able to be with us tonight. Hopefully, he'll be back on track for Sunday, Jay, because I'm definitely going to want him there for the main game. As we're getting ready here for the 7th event of the supports roster this year, which will be supporting round number 6 of the season for V8SCOPS come Sunday.
Yeah, definitely best wishes to Reese and his couple of issues tonight. So yeah, Reese should hopefully be back for Sunday night. Big weekend of sim racing here on SIX Speed. Ages 24-hour this weekend as well, so we'll have 12 hours of coverage of that, along with V8SCOPS, so plenty going on. But this track, as you said, Virginia International Raceway, an absolutely iconic one that I didn't know anything about until joined iRacing, but what a track it is. Sadly, the most iconic part of the track is now gone, the oak tree, but tree in some aspects lives on. They've using the actual tree as trophies for a lot of the events there at the moment. Located right on the border between Virginia and North Carolina, not far from Greensboro, North Carolina, is this track. Yep, 3.5 kilometers from the border, so it's actually closer to the capital of North Carolina than it is to Virginia. We look at the track there, iconic racetrack, this one. Then one of the horseshoe, very, very difficult through the very twisty section right up through turn 6 at Snake. My favourite part of the track, the turns at 7, 8, 9 and 10. That very, very fast, almost chicane down towards where Oak Tree once was, the corner still known as Oak Tree. One thing about that corner, and I've heard this from almost every driver that's driven this track, the corner hasn't changed since the Oak Tree's gone, but it drives so differently psychologically now that the tree isn't there. Long run down Madison Avenue, down to the roller coaster at 14, down to Hog Pen at turn 17. The reason it's called Hog Pen, they used to actually have pens with pigs in it down at that corner. That's the 17 turns of this track. And the racing tonight in the flat fours up first, we will see over 2 25-minute races.
We will indeed. Compulsory pit stops coming up as well for both our categories tonight. So that will keep the drivers on their toes when it comes to the strategy game out here on the track as well. Flat fours are currently in the midst of qualifying, but I mean, yeah, just thinking about the track one last time. And yeah, you're not wrong. I haven't driven the updated scan of VAR all that much, unfortunately, but even I can sort of remember the couple of times I drove it prior to the or the old scan, and with the oak tree there, it was this sort of giant reminder to not get too greedy on the apex, whereas, yeah, these days, things are a little bit more calm and quaint, you might say, given you've got this big flat curb and flat inside.
Bit off camber too, which you probably didn't realise it. Tree to sort of give you a guide on how far you push as you can go, but that's obviously not there. But to do.
100% it does. So there is your format on screen now for the flat fours tonight, and we've got, as you can see up in the top left of the screen, that's the time left in qualifying. So 3 minutes to go here with a harder cut due to the heat racing format coming up for these cars this evening. They'll then go into 25-minute race for both ones tonight, and then we'll see a compulsory 2 tyre change as well. And how about this? Straight into a replay, and that's Ben Christensen in the number 9 Jinx Shifters ANZ Motorsports entry. Unfortunately, that was one heck of a run off the road, and well, I do see in the chat he did request a tow, and as per Oceanic Sim Racing rules, a tow means you are done in qualifying. So to start from the back of this group racing here in this one, as we look at one of our Team Simblux cars, Dion de Graaf there in the number 20. You can see him currently P4 on the standings. Jay-Z works up to Oak Tree. May it rest in peace. But yeah, got some work to do if he wants to catch the guys ahead. Then again, I can see why Ewan Baker's in P1. He's been given the mother of all tows by his Kiwi Sim Racing teammates. Unfortunately, plan.
So what de Graaf can do on this lap. Hasn't looked too bad in regards to sector times, but he's abandoning the lap there, and you definitely won't have a chance to get back and do another lap. So he done for this session. Cam Dance is next in line. We'll see what he can do on his lap here. It doesn't look too great in regards to the sector times either, so I don't think he'll get a lap in here.
It's looking a little, yeah, definitely off pace, 100%, given the benchmark time is a 2:05.9. Ewan Baker went off the road up at turn 10. So this lap is a no bueno from him either, but he does have that provisional pole time and 0.7 of a second thanks to all the tows he's got. Actually, for de Graaf, I think it's gone off even worse at the final corner. And yeah, we'll see de Graaf in a second. He'll actually pull on into the pits here. So Matt Haywood might be our last chance. No, I can. Let's actually check this here. Haywood coming. He will commit in the number 47.
Hasn't got a lap time in yet, so he needs to get a time on the board to not be right at the back of the field.
He will get there in time tonight to set.
He should beat Henry King.
And he will, yes. Unfortunately, way off pace in some respects, but that'll do. No time, it seems, yeah, from Lindsay Hobbs there in the 27th, so that will technically put him at the rear of this field. That there is de Graaf heading down. That is a
Kevin West.
Kevin West. Sorry, yep. No, there's I've got 3 Simblux cars tonight. Matt Haywood actually on broadcast tonight has traded out Simblux colours for something a little different. But there goes 10 minutes. The session will end, and we can now head to the grid for this opening race of 2 for the flat fours. Kiwi Sim Racing lock out the front row with Ewan Baker taking that pole position, and Robert Henry will share that front row with him here tonight. Cameron Dance will start at a P3, and he'll have Dion de Graaf alongside him there in 4th position. Looking back at P5 and 6 will be Kevin West and Matt Haywood. Hey, there you go. That's actually a Simblux looking.
Just updated.
Matt Haywood. There you go. How about that? Stead Miller will start this race out of position number 7 with Ben Christensen sharing spot with him in P8. Henry King P9, and if Lindsay Hobbs is still in, well, he was in the server and he should be on the grid, but no time set. Must have tripped the timing something fierce, which means that we'll have a 10-car grid for this race. Aaron Gilbert keeping an eye on things from the race control booth, and the Porsche Cayman GT4 safety car that will be standing by if something goes tremendously wrong, as it were. But we now wait for the grid time to count. About 50 seconds left, so one final time for you on screen. The race format this evening. Minimum of 2 tyres must be taken here in the races this evening, Chase. So there's a bit of strategy option as to which tyres you take. But I get the feeling with the way I have learned some joys of, pardon me, just muting some background chatter. But yeah, knowing with the way pit stops work here, I would suspect right side tyres are the tyres that will be done fastest because they're on the pit wall side. And you might want to take every bit of advantage you can get to shorten up your stops here.
Yeah, very, very possible that that's how it does play out. So we will see stops, let's say, around the midpoint of the race. I don't think we'll see them too much away from that midpoint. These guys, the field will take them around that point as we get ready to get the green flag. It's time to go racing.
All right, revs are up here in these 86s. Barney will drop the green flag from the edge of your screen. And oh dear, what are the Simblacks cars? That might just be the 47. It will be the answer. It's Matt Haywood getting an absolute, no-go of a start. But it will be Baker and Henry side by side to turn number 1 here. So work their way up into the corner. Those bright green rims are going to belong to Robert Henry as he goes to the lead. And Cam Dance with the momentum around the outside of turn 1, looking for the inside here as they head to NASCAR Bend.
He'll get it done. Cameron Dance up into P2. Ewan Baker slots in behind, and he won't be too happy with that start. Going from first to third. Throws it back up the inside at left hook. Turn 5 now, and sorted themselves out in a single file. All that little battling is instantly given a big free kick to Robert Henry out in front. He's got a pretty decent lead at the moment, but not quite enough to break the draft.
Draft on these cars going to be pretty substantial. Gap to Baker is just under 9/10 of a second. I can already see it coming down here fairly decently as they work their way up through the snake for the first time. Well, sorry, the S's snake is back at turns 5 and 6, and then over this crest here at turn 10 with Dance sticking to the bumper of Henry. Ooh, that's Ted Miller off on the outside there. The 24 is all kinds of loose. One of the ANZ Jinx Shifters cars is also getting loose. Oh, the steering snaps on him there. Right at the end of it, I thought he almost had that one saved. Unfortunately, not quite the answer there. That will see the 24 drop off the back of the group. And in fact, just gets it going now. So he is, unfortunately, in no man's land as the rest of the field works their way down this long back straightaway of Madison Avenue.
Yep. Way down the straight. We'll file in this group. Actually, Ben Christensen and Henry King side by side for a moment.
It's
as
Christensen again.
running wide.
Oh, the number 9 ANZ car is all kinds of loose here on the opening lap. Nearly lost it at Oak Tree. Nearly loses it at the exit of the roller coaster there. But he hangs on for now, but it has splintered the field. We've got yourselves top 5 breaking away at the front. Then it's King, Christensen, and Hobbs in 6, 7, 8 with the 47 of Haywood still trying to recover after that start. And then at the back, Stead Miller in the last position. Baker to the outside of turn 1 has not worked. It's a loud Dance up. It's trouble at the back there. That's one of the Simblacks guys. Oh, King off as well. And my word, a lot of stuff happening there off screen, Jay, as the leaders make their way through NASCAR Bend once more. And look at them all. Elbows out here. Not seeing a lot of love between Baker and Henry on this opening couple of laps.
They're not. I mean, these guys are teammates. As Cameron Dance has a huge slide there, and he's going to lose a spot to Dion DeGraff, so he's dropped from 2nd to 4th in 2 corners. So, yeah, considering Baker and Henry are teammates, you'd think that there'd be a little bit more love shown between them, but they've really got the elbows out against each other. Surprised that they've been able to break as big a gap as they have.
It is quite interesting indeed. You can see there in the background, it's actually now, Christensen and Hobbs, the two that have survived through the melee. Do real quickly is I'll go have a look at what exactly happened whilst we keep my eyes on the live feed here up through Oak Tree. And the simple answer is actually, Kevin West and Henry King both self-spinning at turn number 1 here, Jay, as we do pick up said replay. And you just watch, the rear end going around gradually there for King. Unfortunately, you can just see Kevin West re-entering your screen. Did pretty much the same thing as we head back live as these guys make their way down the straight. DeGraff and Dance catching at a great rate of knots right at the end of the straight. Dance up the inside for the roller coaster. We'll take one spot back here at the end of the second lap. As we then check in again with 5th and 6th. Christensen and Hobbs, they're scrapping, and that's allowing them, or actually causing them, I should say, to drop back from your top 5. Power of the toe can only help you so much, boys, and if you want to dance with the front guys, you're going to have to just do a bit of pushing here to make things work. Compulsory pit window has now opened, as it always does on the end of lap number 2 of any of these races, but look at that there. Christensen defensive from Hobbs as we check back in with the leading 4. Baker puts the fastest time on the board, 2:08.2 without the toe, although it did have a bit of a push. Henry King will be the first one, though, Jay, to come down early and get his CPS done before all kinds of crazy might just unfold with the way these guys are driving against each other, I should say.
Yeah, I think probably the best way, if you dropped off the back of the field, get your pit stop out of the way and then hope for a safety car, because we've seen in this series that safety cars can happen very, very quickly and easily. So no real surprise. And I think now thinking about it too, as you said before, taking working side tyres might be pit early or pit late, no real mid-pitting. Now I think about it logically, side by side up through turn 7, 8, 9, 10 does not work usually, but tell you what, these guys are going to make it work. This is Christensen and Hobbs, and Lindsay Hobbs is going to do it from around the outside in 7 and 9. Gets the inside for turn 10 and actually pulls it off. Well done.
Indeed, well executed maneuver there. You said it doesn't work, but do remember these cars obviously are not all that quick. Work. Oh dear, Ben Christensen, that is yeah, well that wasn't the greatest maneuver there. Gets a nose in as Hobbs settles the car for Oak Tree. And he showed intent, but yeah, I can't see how that's anything but a slam dunk penalty for the number 9 with a thin slither of overlap, you might say, as we head back to the live pictures and continue to watch the top 4. Try and figure each other out. 1 second, covering 4 cars as they come down through and past the hog pen here. And, well, I expect this 4 will probably all go to the pits at the same time, Jay, because low-power car, highly dependent on slipstream. You do not want to be the odd one out if drivers come to the pits from this group.
I agree. And I agree as well on the other point you make there around the penalty.
Oh, Baker's
that's
off!
Mistake for
Almost
Baker,
off.
and then Henry has to check up as he ran a little bit wide. Cam Dance, that's the easiest overtake he'll make, and Dion DeGraff goes through as well.
And there you go. Benefits of sitting in 3rd and 4th sometimes when P1 makes a mistake. And yeah, Robert Henry just gets suckered in, following the line and the length, if you will, of Ewan Baker. They'll obviously range right back up onto the rear bumper of these two in a moment's notice. So no major harm or foul done for the KSR boys just yet. But now got some extra work to do as they head back up, well, head past the snake. And then begin their climb up the hill once again. But yeah, love a little part of the track here. And these cars completely flat out until you reach turn 10. Now, it's only a really short dab of the brakes just to get the front end down and rotated through. And watch there, Kevin West and Matt Hayward flick by in 6th and 7th for a moment. And leaning on the left side tyres as they then make their way out of Oak Tree. And in a moment's time, there we go. They'll flash by our camera and head back down Madison Avenue once again. And well, it's only been 3.5 laps of action here, Jay, so far for race 1. But turning on, I reckon DeGraff will have a go here if he can get just a tiny bit closer. We'll see which side Dance holds into the roller coaster.
Dion DeGraff's going to throw it up the inside and he'll get it done. Cam Dance doesn't fight it in the slightest. No point fighting at this point, I'm guessing, is the strategy there for Dance. Who goes down to DeGraff to lead a little bit of this race.
Yeah, get back in line for, well, I say slipstream really, but at this point it's just pace management, if anything. If he's more comfortable playing follow the leader, I suppose that will work for him as they head back down the front straight away. You can just see how effective the toe is, because the runs look pretty similar off the hog pen. Well, in saying that, he gave up the lead at the roller coaster without too much fuss, but he's forced DeGraff on the defensive for turn 1, and then has to worry about Baker being awfully close under brakes. Actually Rangers right up on the back bumper of the number 20 here as we head back towards NASCAR Bend. You know, you were a little worried, Jay, tonight that with 10 cars in the flat fours, we might be a little stymied for action, but turns out we needed less than half of that to actually put on something. It just means we're going to probably be a bit target fixated this evening. As you can see on our timing tower, Stead Miller will be the next driver to make an early stop here and get the compulsory service ticked off for race number 1.
Yeah, I was very concerned when we saw that there was only 10 cars registered, but you're going to turn on a show like this, you don't need too many more than that. So great to watch the battles going on here, and a lot of respect shown between these four as well, which is great to see. We said that there was a bit of elbows out between the teammates, but I think they might have had a little bit of a chat to each other and maybe decided, hey, we need to settle down or else we're going to take each other out and let these other guys break away. West and Haywood are still nose to tail as well in those Sim Black cars, so we'll keep an eye on them as well. Ben Christensen, no doubt, will be worried about what race control is thinking as well. Actually, something, as that's West having a moment well held and didn't stall the car. That's always a positive. Remembering these cars running any V8SCOPS sanctioned series, no driver aids, which means that the cars can stall, manually start the car.
Yeah, that is always an added little test because, I mean, yeah, if you don't do too many leagues that basically disable all the assists, you might sort of get used to running the anti-stall clutch. There we go. Strategy call from Baker and Henry. They will break the quartet into two duos. Now, let's see what Dance and DeGraff do here. Sure, the answer is stay single file, but I go up and check on them, and Dance again on the racing line. DeGraff worried. They need to push each other basically as much as they can around this circuit. Any kind of contesting and hold up, and they will be in a world of hurt. DeGraff needs to not worry about P1 right now in terms of what's on the track. He needs to think about P1 versus the two cars that are in the lane, and they're still in the box as they complete their service. But Baker's done and away. Robert Henry is, I think he might have stalled the car there. That was a very slow getaway for Henry, and that's actually broken your KSR pair as Matt Haywood's had a moment down at the first corner. Rejoins just now ahead of the 34 by about 3 or 4 seconds. And, well, I think Robert Henry, 19 seconds down the box. Thank you very much for that data there on screen, Jay, versus 15 and a half. And, yeah, I think Henry stalled the car out in the box and was slow to get it refired.
Yeah, very easy to do as well. Paying a huge amount of attention to it as well. So, yeah, very, very possible that happened. Pick it up on the replay.
Those RPMs are very, very low. We'll see here. We can see Baker up on the jacks ahead. Actually, meanwhile, we're watching this replay for the lead. Dance going, and yep. Hooray! I made a good call.
Well done.
Well, in saying that, I did see the car literally roll at 1 kilometer an hour. I was like, I wonder why that could be. So yes, whilst we were on the replay, Cameron Dance taking the slipstream down Madison Avenue, slips back past Dion DeGraff. Let's see, will these two come to the pits and respond straight away
have to
head off this pit stop? Was there a bit of fresh tyre advantage maybe would make sense? And indeed, yep, Dance and DeGraff both into the lane. Back down to pit speed limit, 60 kilometers an hour here, sorry, at the updated Virginia International Raceway. And they'll carry on as we have a quick look here. That's Lindsay Hobbs. Apologies for the fact that for some reason it's thinking it's Robert Henry. There we go, P4. I was wondering.
You'd think I'd know what I'm doing with these graphics by now, wouldn't you?
Well, look, trust me, we've got lots of control. It actually can kind of get a bit overwhelming sometimes. As Ben Christensen and Kevin West will head to the lane there. As I hear these cars on the revs, where is Ewan Baker coming past the pit entry now? This is going to be close, and I reckon he might have it here. Yeah, and so because, of course, slow acceleration. Actually, no, he won't. Cameron Dance will get out in front. And Dion DeGraff, it's going to be very close with as they come to the turn. And DeGraff slides over the racing line, parks it middle of the road. Here comes Baker to the inside. DeGraff will hang on, but he's not going to get the momentum as he tries to hold on to the spot. They'll be side by side for NASCAR. If they keep this up, Cameron Dance at 1.6 seconds, nearly 1.7 already, Jay. he might be on the fringes of the slipstream range, and that might be all he needs to get one lap of reprieve. But no, Baker through on the exit of NASCAR bend, and I'm sure now will start immediately cutting that margin down on slightly warmer tyres.
Exactly. Gonna try and use those newer, more up to temperature tyres. Sorry, not newer tyres. They're all pretty much the same age, but yeah, one lap older tyres up to temperature, up to pressure. Be a big difference here on this lap. Baker at 1.6 seconds. The gap. Only driver left in the field left to pit is Lindsay Hobbs. So I'm going to guess he will come in the next lap or two. Baker now, he's pushing it extremely hard. Bonus for him is he is closing that gap down. The undergraph here has to basically push him down the straight if there's any chance to close this gap down.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to watch it now. Gap of 0.8. I can even see on my timing that DeGrasse that just dropped off the back of Baker. The tow range in these Toyota GR86s is huge, given their low power output. And, well, they've got a rear wing on them, and they're small cars, but they're still full-body cars, which means they're going to punch a decent-sized hole in the air. And just like that, the gap is down from 0.8 to 4 by the time they enter the roller coaster. And that is well and truly back in the game for Ewan Baker. But going to have to get past Cameron Dance as Lindsay Hobbs is continuing on in this race, but decided to open up a lawn mowing business with the Excalibur Esports GR86. And we'll hopefully not see too much more of that because it'll slow him down. And, well, he can't really afford it, all things considered. But let's talk about that later because here comes Ewan Baker. This time to the outside. Dance will actually give it up under brakes. He doesn't want to play the game. In fact, he's actually going to force Baker into an error at turn 1 by getting him in too deep. So we're going to side draft each other back up to NASCAR bend. Cameron Dance, I don't think, wants to lead here. So I think, yeah, we'll see him roll out through this little left-handed kink that is turn 2 and, yeah, settle in for the racing line at NASCAR and get back ready to attack in a couple of corners' time. Or perhaps just, well, not corners, I'd say just wait for the long-haul run down Madison Avenue. Because what's the point of going any earlier, Jay? I'd say not much.
We've seen in races past all different series that Cam Dance is a bit of a master of the strategy, isn't he? He's quite content just sitting, watching, waiting for the last moment to pounce. So no surprise that he's doing similar here at the moment. But if these guys continue to fight as they are, they're going to allow Robert Henry back into the group. So there's every chance that we could see this back into a 4-car fight. They continue this fighting that they're doing.
I'll have to keep my eye on it. Gap is 6 seconds from Baker to Henry, first to fourth. Oh, sorry, effective first, but it's actually P2, I should. Apologies to Lindsay Hobbs there, is still continuing as your race leader, but out of sequence due to a lack of compulsory pit stop from the number 27. But, I mean, yeah, it also makes sense because we've seen now for a couple of laps in this opening part of the race, short of maybe a late race bombastic maneuver up the inside through the last couple of turns at the hog pen. If you can be leading here on entry to the roller coaster and exiting the roller coaster, you should have this race won. I would think even the long run down the front straight doesn't seem to really be helping. Side by side, it might be once you're getting towards the line, but even here, watch this from Cameron Ness. He'll keep his foot buried in it, and at about a quarter of a second, call it 3/10 when they exited the hog pen, he's gained at most a tenth, maybe a tenth and a half. So you'd have to be a lot closer out of the final corner, or as I'm sure he'll be aiming for, be ahead before the final corner. That way, not as much pressure short of just hit your marks.
Yeah, he'll be testing over this lap and lap previous there. He'll be trying to work out exactly where he needs to be to get that position change done at the last possible moment to then be able to hold on to the spot. So he'll be thinking about all of that stuff as he's going through. This is Ben Christensen. That is a bit too much curb. That is wall.
It is, but I'm not going to lie. Well, I've seen it happen in some other cars, and I guess road suspension, it's not necessarily set up stiff, and we don't have the option to make much adjustments to it, but it's not what I'd call a great look for, not necessarily Christensen, but more for just the car there, because literally just picked itself up off the inside edge of the curb. Let's have a look at it again. Yeah, you see it pick itself up once, bounce up twice and just, center of gravity rolls over to the left, and the car decides that, well, you're going to have to have countersteered already, and you're not. So around she goes into the tyre bundles. Thankfully, nice and soft there as we go back to live pictures, and Hobbs continuing on, but he's being absolutely routed by your next 3 cars on the road. So looking at the margins, if he's lucky, drops back into front of Henry King. I'd probably say somewhere between Henry King and Kevin West, which would be P6s that time around. Cameron Dance content to push the 34 of Baker into the roller coaster rather than make any sudden moves. 5 minutes to go. Hobbs will clear his compulsory stop for race number 1 as he jams on the brakes and the pit lane. Now, this is interesting. Cameron Dance a lot closer, maybe testing here the run. No, he's going to push Baker along once again. So rather than test to see if he can make it, sit himself right on the bumper here. Now, this time, Dance rolls out, goes racing line. Dion de Graaf, in the meantime, will reset the fastest lap of the race to a 2:06.4. That time around, about 4.5 tenths faster than Cameron Dance, about 5.5 tenths faster than Baker in now the lead of this race.
Hobbs has come out behind Henry King ahead of Kevin West. So Hobbs rejoin the race. We're a little bit further back than he would have liked. Baker. Huge error. He's let both de Graaf and Dance through. Enough to help Robert Henry close the gap, but that's a little bit worrying. I don't think he eventually would have done that to let Dance lead a little bit, but that's a little nerve-wracking at this point of the race.
And I mean, it is. These guys are pushing that hard that any slip up in concentration or overcommitment of the car is going to send it off the road. And given the fact we've seen a couple of them now from both Kiwi sim racing drivers, it is, I guess, a little concerning for both of them in terms of what their prospects are going to be for making sure that they're switched on and able to commit without making a mistake, perhaps, in the closing stages of this race. In all saying, Baker is well and truly within the slipstream range and will get another chance at catching back up to Dion de Graaf. We'll just see here on this lap as de Graaf opt to go forward to lead. He shows the nose entering the roller coaster, but not there to make a move, and it isn't enough to get an error out of Cameron Dance as they come back down the hill. Now, looking at the race clock, 3 minutes and 15 seconds, we will get to 12 laps of racing here at Virginia International Race. Oh, Dance and de Graaf going to go lawn mowing off the hog pen. They'll give this lead straight back to Ewan Baker by the time they get to turn 1, I think, as Baker's going to take it, what feels like his sweet time, but slowly easing up to speed, because at the same time, I guess, Jay, Dance and de Graaf just get the foot buried in the throttle as they make way down to this front straight, and de Graaf's going to lunge up the inside and keep that sort. Dance getting loose on the power, breaks the rears away. We'll have to drop back into P3, though, by the exit of turn 1, and just hangs on.
Wowee, these guys are pushing hard. These guys are giving it their all. These guys are doing everything in their power to try and win this race, but also pushing it to the limit where they're just exceeding that 100% limit. That 101%, but the thing with these cars is there is a little bit of give. de Graaf's going to hold on. He will get a slowdown penalty, but this leaves us with what will be a 2-car battle for the win in race 1.
Yeah, no slowdown penalty unless he already cleared it instantaneously. But now outside of 2 seconds and losing time to these two here, it will be one man who, Baker versus Dance will now settle in for the fight home, and in fact Robert Henry will catch up to Dion de Graaf in all of this. So it will be 1-on-1 for the win, 1-on-1 for third, as there we go. Just as we switch to P3, Baker in way too hot at the oak tree to try and keep any semblance of cornering speed on the way in, as I lost all of it through the mid-corner and the exit relative to Cameron Dance, who is still content to push the 34 along and not show his hand as they both work up Madison Avenue for the second last time here in race number 1. Dance on the brakes earlier than Baker, but allows him to open up the corner. Baker is really hustling here as now Henry trying to get around the outside of de Graaf, not able to make it stick, but at least remind him now that his presence is here and present. And wow, what about that for an opening half of a lap? With De Graaf and Dans running into the grass. I was worried they were going to have trouble. They were fine, but then it turns out might have, debris, dirt on the tyres, whatever you may be, got them in all kinds of strife at turn 1, and then at the start of the snake as the white flag was in the hand of Barney, confirming it will be a 12-lap race to start the night off here in the flat fours. This time, Baker going defensive as Dance pulled back for the racing line. We'll see here when Dance goes for the move. Surely he waits for the run down Madison Avenue here, Jay.
I mean, that's the last possible place he can get the move done unless he forces an error out of Ewan Baker through Hog Pen, which we're not saying that's not going to happen either, because we've seen plenty of mistakes tonight already. These guys are pushing and pushing hard. De Graaf to Henry is still the same size gap as well between this battle, Baker and Dance. Interesting thing now is, will this traffic get involved? That's Stead Miller in front of them there, who is about to go a lap down. They get involved in this. Hopefully he is able to either stay far enough ahead that he stays on the lead lap, and if he does get lapped, he'll let these guys through without interfering in the battle. Here's the run down the straight, and Dance looks very, very strong here.
He does, but critically, Miller's falling back into the clutches of Ewan Baker. This might be just what he needs to hang on, because he's now going to be picking up tow from the number 24 machine as they work their way down Madison for the final time. And you can see the effect immediately. This gap has barely shrunk down this super long straightaway. Now the tow cuts off for Ewan Baker. Here comes Dance. Full head of steam. He's going to have to commit to the inside for the start of the roller coaster. Then somehow force the issue around the outside. Contact through the apex as it puts Dance in the dirt. Baker is going to hang on for this final part of the roller coaster. The Hog Pen is all that's left here in race number 1 in this fight for the lead. Dance is sideways through the middle of the corner here, and this car has got nothing left as he tries to hold that thing to the road. Ewan Baker fends off the challenge, and the lapped traffic turns out to be the perfect blessing for the 34. He will take the checkered flag first here in race number 1. And Robert Henry, in the meantime, he's gotten through into P3 on Dion de Graaf to wrap that opening race up here, as the rest of our field will make their way through, with Henry King bringing it home for 5th. We've got Christensen, Haywood, and Kevin West actually still scrapping JDI Madison Avenue in towards the roller coaster. Well, in saying that, apparently bit deceived by what I saw on my track map. They're a little bit further apart than I thought. Christensen now just needs to bring this one. Oh, he's going very slow. Okay, well, it's on. It's just a little bit later than I thought, as Haywood scrambling over the rear bumper, but bad run through the Hog Pen. I think Christensen has just been given his last gasp chance to hang on to that 7th place as they come to the start-finish line.
We'll hold on to 7th. Haywood will finish in 8th, and West will finish that race in 9th. We got our 25 minutes worth, didn't he? There was so much action in that 7-lap race, and we're going to do it all again in about 1 minute's time. Baker, Dance, Henry, your podium. Henry getting that move done on Dion de Graaf on the final lap of the race. Henry King in 5th, Lindsay Hobbs in 6th, Christensen in 7th, Haywood, West and Miller rounding out the field. Do it all again, exactly the same. 25 minutes on the clock once more. Everyone will have to come in and do a 2-tyre pit stop. I think the strategy around the pit stops might change a little bit in this one, though.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, sticking together with a draft buddy is crucial, but how drivers choose to play things out in terms of timing, it's going to be interesting there. I'm going to look forward to hopefully having a chat with Cam Dan, see if he can explain where the tyre death, as it were, came from in that race. Because it all of a sudden really sort of looked like the wheels fell off the wagon of the number 6 in the dying laps, though it certainly was pushing. Speaking of information, I actually have some numbers for you, thanks to Mr. Dance, regarding tyres. And you know how I said the right sides might be fastest because they're on the pit wall? Turns out iRacing has just completely ruined my expectations there, and it's actually, of all things, apparently the left side tyres which will change fastest on this GR86. So keep that in mind for how the drivers might choose to go about their pit stops. Clock starts ticking down for the grid timer in race number 2. And it will be a completely progressive grid here. So Baker and Dance to share the front row for this second race here, with Henry and De Graaf out of 3rd and 4th positions. Henry King will start out of P5, sharing that row with Lindsay Hobbs in 6th. 7th and 8th will go to Ben Christensen and Matt Haywood, with Kevin West and Stead Miller to round out our 5th and final row of GR86 race cars here. Jay, 10 seconds to the green, 12 more laps expected, and well, definitely been a couple of handfuls here and there, it seems. Thankfully, no big one just yet. Just got to hope that we don't have anyone drop off too soon. Is going to get the revs here in a moment. Get this second and final race for the flat fours underway here. We wait for the signal from Barney up on that flag stand. He will give it, and we're off. And this time, though, it's Lindsay Hobbs stalls out at the back. Thankfully, everyone will avoid.
Yep, everyone's got away there and no contact made, which is great. After we saw the same thing happen in the first race as well with no contact. Dance around the outside is going to get that move done. But remember, now they've got to think again. Going from hot tyres to cold tyres does take a little bit to bring that logical brain back into gear. Just cool your jets a little bit.
And Henry fighting for 3rd in the start of that one there, as the number 20 has lobbed it up the inside for NASCAR Ben. Tried to take the spot through turn 4, but through number 5 as we start the snake here through 5A and 6. Don't ask me why the Americans think calling a corner 5 and 5A is appropriate, but alas, they do. As those guys settle in for the run up the hill for the first time here on board with your man in P2, Ewan Baker. And she gets out from behind Cameron Dance's line for a moment there as they come up through turns 8 and 9 and swing back down through 10. Now, good to see in this race, Ben Christensen able to actually get closer to the back bumper of Robert Henry, and we might just have 5, if not 6 cars at least. Nope, 7, 8, 9 cars pretty much in a row, and Lindsay Hobbs is actually still close enough to, well, might as well call it all 10. Going to be line astern and getting a good old draft down the back straightaway here, Madison Avenue, for the first time in this second race.
With the track map, there's no turn 13 on this track either, which is actually turn 13 on the Grand West layout, or the Grand layout. That little runoff midway through Madison Avenue, but everyone's single file still coming through the roller coaster to end the first lap. Hey, how much cleaner has this first lap been from race 1? We saw cars off everywhere in race 1, but this second race, guys are driving very, very smooth. Little mistake there from Danso through Hogpen, but you should still hold on to the lead. Got through lap 1, side by side at the back between Kevin West and Stead Miller as he recovers through after a not great race 1, and Lindsay Hobbs starting to hold on at the back of the group as well.
Yeah, Hobbs is just in the slipstream of Matt Haywood, who's in the slipstream of West and Miller both. These two, though, are going to have to be careful that I think they're going to want to sort this out pronto if they want to hang on to the rest of the cars up the road. Miller, though, deep into turn 1 is going to open the opportunity for West. It's the inside. Again, they're getting dropped by the top 6 as they do this. As Baker up the inside at turn 4 for the lead. De Graaf tries again on Henry for P3, but not able to make it work. So one change of position is Christensen gets all kinds of loose through the start of the snake there. Too much grass on the inside of 5A, but gathers it up as they head on down the straight. And Henry King, teammate, will most certainly be happy, I think, to give him a push to keep them all in this battle.
Christensen's definitely not too worried about pushing the car hard, is he? He's really content throwing the car around. Here, just a bit of grass. Front wheel lifts up off the ground, and he's somehow...
Oh, Robert Henry's gone!
Oh, no.
Oh, my word, up at turn 11, all of a sudden I was focusing on the replay. We've lost the number 7 of Robert Henry. I don't know just yet if that involved... Well, how much of that involved Dion de Graaf, who was right behind this train of 4. You can see, so checks up behind Cameron Dance. They'll come over the hill here. So de Graaf looking for the outside. And then, oh no. That's not looking too pretty there. This time for de Graaf, looking to be turning in from that angle as Henry was straight still trying to look for his apex on the approach to the oak tree. jumps on the radio as we head back to live pitches requesting an incident review. Unfortunately, he is now the one who is out of position as we go on board with Ben Christensen, who saw us all from behind here, Jay.
That's one that I'm glad I'm not in race control for, but I think, yeah, De Graaf, if you look at where he ended up positioning his car once he made the corner, might find himself in a little bit of trouble. But positive is that the racing is front of the field. Baker and Dance still going at it. Still got a field of 5 cars in this group. Steadmiller, Kevin West, Lindsay Hobbs, and Matt Haywood aren't too far away, as Lindsay Hobbs has now got past Haywood at the back of the field.
He has. And just letting I'll keep my eyes on Ben Christensen for a bit here, because he's doing a good job to hang on to P now 4 in this race, but I'm a little worried that just the little moment here, little moment there, it all adds up in a car like this. It is so reliant on the momentum that you maintain around the circuit, because of course low power, it's all about keeping up the speed everywhere you go, and he's just starting to be dropped by the top 3 of Baker, Dance and Graaf. Now you can see the gap is about 0.7 of a second to the number 20 ahead, but any more than that and I get worried for him. Henry King though looking to be happily calm and complacent in behind, as that's a little wide from Christensen as we go back to the front of the field, as Dance continues to apply a slow and steady burn to the rear bumper of the 34 in this second race once again.
Wondering if this group, or if Christensen may benefit from Henry King being the leader of that pairing, that Lindsay Hobbs gets through on Kevin West at the exit tree as well, so he's now got himself up into position number 7, back where he started. Been a bit more eventful than just saying I'm started in 7th, I'm currently in 7th. He's had to work hard to get back there.
Sure has. Good to see able to get that car refired in time to not lose too much as they drop down past the hog pen once again. And yeah, no sign of any early takers for the pit lane just yet from our front running drivers, as, oh, lo and behold, Henry King will completely undo that fact because he's detached from the rear bumper of his teammate Ben Christensen. Kevin West has had a moment, unfortunately, exiting the hog pen as well in the number 21, that sees him now drop into a bit of a lonely air. But now that's a bit of an odd call, I have to say, from the G Shifters cars, because they were looking very happy to sit together and Henry just push Ben along. But all of a sudden, opts to bow out of the pack. He'll have no one to work with here because he's going to drop in behind, well behind even Robert Henry, who's stayed out on the track. As we're waiting for the pit stop to
he's got a black flag. That's why he's come in.
What has he picked? Black flag. So that has to be either a slowdown he's not served, because I think it's a little late for it to be. Well, did he get that? I'm going to have a look at his I'm going back to pit entry to see what's happened. I just want to see if maybe over
on the limit pretty early, so it's not there. So he already had the black flag.
So I'm going to say, yeah, maybe a penalty for a slowdown that wasn't served correctly up the bumper of Christensen in that case, because it almost feels like it's a lap too late for it to be a starting penalty.
You do have 3 laps to serve it, and he's came in at the end of lap 3, so it's possible.
I just don't trust iRacing sometimes when it comes to the laps you've got left to serve.
He did not get a starting penalty, I can confirm that, because he's sluggish off the start.
There you go. Unless he inched it. But look, let's not worry about that anymore. Let's keep our eyes here on the live pitches at the front of the field, because it is a 3-horse race. De Graaf might look like he's out of the picture for the, well, he's literally out of the picture for now, but that is most definitely still in the game. What with the tow range being at 0.7 off the back bumper of Cameron Dance as they wind out of the hog pen once more. Approaching 10 minutes complete, approaching 9 minutes complete in this race. As this time Dance, yep, straight onto the rear bumper and push engaged. We'll see here, yep, Baker accepts the push and will stay on the racing line rather than defend into one, and Dance will detach just before the braking zone, and De Graaf will say, thank you, I'll take those free couple of tenths to close on up in the process. Says, there we go, a host of cars in, Hobbs, Miller and Kevin West, Matt Haywood too. joining the, now making a quartet of cars in the lane. Robert Henry will cycle by all of them. And that's going to be interesting to watch here in terms of just, well, how well can 4 cars go if they play it smart and push each other around one by one.
3 that came in together are all going to leave together too, which is a positive for all of them, you feel, because if they stay in a group, they're going to be able to draft. They may gain a little bit of time back, the lead group, which they did lose, and maybe even be able to jump Ben Christensen, who's dropped from now. So this is a real positive for these guys if they can work together here.
Yeah, so long as they just, dot the I's, cross the T's, as Dance gets a wobble on exiting turn 10, and De Graaf actually has to opt to go to the grass on the exit of the corner. So once again, the Orbit Motorsport number 6 and the Sim Blacks number 20 looking all kinds of unfriendly in the hands of their drivers tonight, as these runs can stretch out a little bit here. And so it makes me wonder if this is going to play into any strategy calls, try and maybe see out these tyres for a bit. Because the other thing is here, is if Ewan Baker comes to the pits, if I'm Cam Dance or Dion de Graaf, I think you try and team up for a couple of laps and you push each other around. And see if you can just put Ewan Baker on the back foot with no slipstream whatsoever.
Yeah, well, whoever's leading the group wants to hope when they pit that everyone pits with them. And, Dance is going to be left hung and dry. Baker and de Graaf have come in.
Now that's interesting.
That surprised me. I thought de Graaf would have worked with Dance, but he's decided to come in with Baker. Dance has now got to do this all on his own. I'm going to say that Dance will go as long as he possibly can before he comes into the pits, side by side, Matt Haywood and Lindsay Hobbs on the run down Madison Avenue.
They are indeed, but I'm not sure they can afford, Cam Dance can afford to go long, but there we go. Exchange made. Haywood gets by, but yeah, not pushing Hobbs along as he actually goes in too deep of the roller coaster.
Oh.
Has to bail off into the grass, and Steb Miller a little wide to avoid him in the process. Thankfully, though, gathers it back up and should be just within range to get on the bumper of Miller again in due course as Baker and de Graaf off the lane. And yeah, there you go, about a second faster, able to make up some more time. But I'm not so convinced that Cam Dance can afford to stay long, because I'm expecting fresh tyres. Now, they are cold tyres, but they might have a little bit more available for as a result. But then also slipstream up through the snake to part of this circuit. Was it turns 8 through 9 complex? Not just 7, 8, 9 up to the South Bend. Not particularly. Feels like it needs a name after you have things like the snake at the bottom of the straightaway.
Yeah, this part I always reckon's more of a roller coaster than 14, 15, 16 is. I just think this is a bit roller coastery. You're a lot faster through the section. You're not braking. If you are on the brakes, it's very, very minimal. I'm thinking back to a few weeks ago when we had the iRacing Grand Prix Tour here. The guys in the McLaren, the Mercedes W13. I keep thinking in Formula car. In the Mercedes W13, the guys were on the limiter in 7th gear as they lifted off just a little bit for turn 10. But 7, 8, 9, full power, full beans, all the way up through that section of track, which was really, really cool to watch. I think Dance has to go long, because if he comes in now, he's going to leave himself susceptible to potential overtake. While he's got the warmth in the tyres, he needs to use that to his advantage and try and break away as much time as he possibly can. That's my thinking on what he needs to do here. And maybe he can get himself out to a 1.5 second, 2-second gap while he then has to warm up his tyres. So we'll get a bit of an idea in a few laps' time. Only 11 minutes left of the clock. He'll have to come in with about 5 minutes left of the clock to make that final stop so it doesn't breach the compulsory pit.
Yeah. Now, curiously, it was actually it was a good lap from him, 2:07.2, despite 0 slipstream or assistance. As we look here at Hobbs and Miller, who are looking a little scrappy there. So that might not help them there. This is going to be critical, though. This is the first flying lap for Baker and de Graaf. We'll see what they can do out here and how it compares.
That's scrappy.
Can't wish. Oh, Cameron Dance deciding to make my point made that things might not be going all to plan. Well, going to be feels like an uphill road, but maybe not. We'll have to wait and see.
Apex back there somewhere. Oak tree. That's a line that you often ran when the tree was there because you just sort of naturally were pushing away from the wall. But yeah, that's not the fast way through that section. Yeah, so Dance, in comparison to, say, Ben Christensen, that lap there, where Ben Christensen obviously doesn't have any draft buddies, or even Robert Henry, who doesn't have any draft buddies, obviously has a little bit of damage, but Dance was still a second and a half quicker than both of those guys. So I think he really has to push this lap. We'll get an idea on his pace, and then we'll compare that to Ewan Baker when he crosses the line. But Dance crosses with a 2:07.4. Ben Christensen's decided now's the time to bite the bullet. I think Ben Christensen is going to end up in that pack with Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller here. I think these two could actually overtake Ben Christensen. Look at this, they're starting to work together.
There we go, the push down Madison Avenue. That's what we need. And Miller disengages well before the roller coaster, so Hobbs doesn't feel like he's under any pressure. Baker and DeGraff are only just now making their way to the start-finish line, so the gap is still around 36.5 seconds as they will cross the line and do... Waiting for it.
Too far away.
2:06.9, 2:07 dead. Only half a second lost for Cameron Dance, but nevertheless, that's still half a second on that particular lap, thanks to that slightly dodgy...
it's probably that one apex, isn't it? That one apex he missed was probably half a second with the understeer he had in those front tires.
Yep, that'll do it, especially around a place like here as he comes up to the oak tree once again. But we'll keep our eyes here on Hobbs and Miller as they continue to work. Now, they have come out a little ways behind Ben Christensen to the tune of about 6 seconds. We'll see
That's
if
catchable,
they can...
though.
8 minutes ago, it's going to be a tough ask, but if Stead Miller commits to just pushing Lindsay Hobbs around the entire track, yeah, I would not count him out at all whatsoever here until they get to the end of this race.
I'll say that Ben Christensen has not been anywhere near as scrappy as he was in this race, so I guess that's probably the negative for Hobbs and Miller, but they're hoping that he starts to return the scrappy ways that he had in race 1, but at the moment he's looking pretty reasonable in regards to pace and keeping it straight the road. Hobbs decides to use a little bit of grass there and tree that looks very, very nice from both of these guys. Very, very smooth. At maintaining it at 6 seconds. Cameron Dance goes around for one more. He will have to pit next lap. Then we're going to see what... Tell you what, the lap time there from Dance is almost the same as what Ewan Baker did with draft help down to Graf. A little bit of bump drafting. The Graf about the same time as Cameron Dance just did then.
Yeah, it's not much different. So I expect he'll come out pretty much on the bumper of DeGraff, and that would give him, gives him about 2 laps to switch on as Dance will come. Baker will come to the line. We'll see his last lap update now. Yeah, 2:06.9 again. 0.2 indeed the gain, so it's not much. As DeGraff, well, and call it 0.09 of a second there advantage. So yeah, I would see Dance coming out basically on DeGraff's back bumper. He gets a lap to warm the tyres up and stick with, and then he's going to have 1 lap to execute a manoeuvre if he can, opting to play the long game like this. He'll have the nice fresh tyres underneath him, and that's a much nicer run through the oak tree to keep his momentum up onto Madison Avenue. But Robert Henry there, also yet to pit. Unfortunately, we will see him tumble down the order somewhere past maybe even Matt Haywood if he's particularly unlucky.
I think that's about where he will come.
Between Haywood and West.
Yeah, I think he'll come in around Matt Haywood there, so might be able to still gain 1 more spot and get himself up to P9. P8 might be where he comes out, but he might get to P7. See, as Cameron Dance. No. come in. You think he has to come in now. We're finishing lap 9. We know that it's probably a 12-lap race, so he might be able to go, no, he has to come in this lap. Sure that he doesn't infringe. I'll tell you what, that's committed in, and I think he's done it pretty much perfectly.
It was textbook entry in terms of getting yourself to 60 kph right on the pit speed limiter line. And yeah, nothing left in that car. And this actually, I think, is probably the last lap he wants to pick, because this now gives him lap 10 is the out lap. Lap 11 is sort of the setup lap, and lap 12 is the commitment lap. And that will be it for this race tonight, as Baker leads DeGraff. Gap there between the two is, yeah, a little bigger, I think, than DeGraff would like. Is there a possibility here? Maybe Dance slots in between them as he's off the jacks already. Good stop as well for the number 6. As here come the 34 and the 20. Dance is out past the blend line. He can cut across if he wants, and he doesn't even need to. Jay's going to take the race lead and keep it from the 34 and the 20.
Beautiful from Cameron Dance to hold on to that race lead. Robert Henry has come in as well to make sure that everyone has completed their compulsory pit stop. Now Dance, well, he's going to have to drive the wheels off this car to get the heat into the tyres on these next 3 laps as quick as possible. 2.5 laps to go. Yeah, he's going to have to work hard to get the heat in. Robert Henry's going to come out just as we thought, right with Matt Haywood as well. This is a interesting little fight here. Remember that Henry's car is a little bit damaged, so needs to get there. Have a look at the damage to the side of his car. Is not going to have to worry anymore. Matt Haywood's running off the track.
Oh, another error, costly. This time for the 47 of Haywood, as they come to just 2.5 laps to go in this race. Now, going to be on the defensive as these drivers, Baker and DeGraff, just to try and hunt him down. But DeGraff is back at 8/10 on Baker, so it's going to be the climb back as Dance cold tyres. Yep, misses the apex, and then winds up for the run down Madison once again. And
I don't think he'll be too stressed if he loses this spot. I think he'll be okay. You won't worry him the slightest.
Yeah, he'll be good. Henry King's having a moment of some kind down at the entry to the Snake, but let's stay here with your leading 2. And no, this time Baker's not going to take the spot away. But oh, he's going to commit an error from Dance. Just as we got a replay as King spins it through turns 4. Dance has lost the rear over commitment at the top of the roller coaster, drops back into P3. And now Baker has 0.6 of a second as they come through the hog pen. But now, and yeah, DeGraff is really struggling, it seems, off the exit of the hog pen with any momentum. It's actually allowing Baker to pull away at the front of the field as we're coming to 2 laps to go.
We go, and side by side across the line. If that was the end of the race, who won that? I think Dance just, but Raff's still got his car there. Dance does cut back. Tell you what, that's a very, very nice bit of driving there to let him go. Just the natural drifting wide of DeGraff. Dance cuts back through and gets a spot. Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller side by side across the line as well.
Oh, but there we go. The rear end of Dance's car is very loose, and there's the challenge of Baker through that couple of corners at the start of the Snake has looked particularly strong, but in this particular occasion, Dance will get the run to begin the hunt as they climb the hill for the second last time in this race and for the evening in the flat 4s. Looking out the back at Dion DeGraff, who's just that little bit closer at 0.2 of a second, but he'll sit in behind. He knows that this is his best chance right now to have a shot at the win if he allows Cam to do the heavy lifting in the slipstream from the leader. But Dance, okay, it looks a little unhappy here still on his second flying lap.
Snake from Baker.
But yeah, Baker not too hot off of the Oak Tree corner either, all things considered. All right, it is 6/10 covering 3 cars. We've got 1 lap and change to go. Look at this. Dan's going to pull out early from the toe, so he won't be closing in as much, but he's still gaining. Gets back in line as we approach Madison, and then gives the bump. We'll jump off the back bumper before we head to get to the roller coaster actual.
Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs bump drafting as well. Now here comes Lindsay Hobbs going the long way around. We'll get the white flag when they come up to the start-finish line this time. And I tell you what, beautiful bit of driving from Hobbs. He's going to get this spot. He was about 0.7 back at the oak tree and just took a completely different line through there. He's going to get the spot done finally as we're side by side. The front straight for our leaders. White flag in the air. This is the last lap of the race.
Here we go. Baker led by 4/100ths of a second as Dance has to dive back to his bumper to cut off Dion de Graaf's any attempt from getting up the inside there. So as they were at the line, 34 leads 6, leads 20 to work into NASCAR bend. But through here, this is where Baker is stronger, able to get the car in from a much wider entry point than Dance is willing to here at turn 4. Gains a couple of Ks through the middle of the turn. The slipstream does come back in Dance's favour here in a moment as we begin the climb for the final time up through the snake to 7, 8, 9 and 10. But it's just that little bit of reprieve, which means that Dance is in no position to challenge and has to bank everything on the run out of the oak tree down Madison Straight to the roller coaster. He's close this time by, but yeah, only gets to the bumper as we get to the top of this run here, Jay.
Almost ended in tears for that second group. Have a look at this, how close this was. Little bump there from Stead Miller in the back of Lindsay Hobbs, but they've held it together. Continued on without any further issues. They're still going at it as well. So this is on for the lead, and it's on for the win. This could be a round win, depending on who gets the win in this race.
Here we go. No laps car to give toe to Ewan Baker this time. As a result, here comes Cameron Dance. But once again, a good enough run off Oak Tree this time means Dance will have to do a complete repeat of race 1. Up the inside, Baker loose through the first part, entering the roller coaster. Dance loose through the second part as they flick back to the right. De Graaf now paying off a chance. He gets cut off before there's overlap. He tries to find a way through for the hog pen, but Dance shuts the door on that opportunity, and this time he will keep his foot planted and run wide through the hog pen. So now has to be worried about Dion de Graaf, which means Ewan Baker will make it a sweep here at Virginia International Raceway. Dance is going to just hang on to P2 by half a car length from Dion de Graaf as they cross the line 1, 2, and 3. Christensen is going to come home in P4 as Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller are going to be your next run through the line. Here comes Miller. This is close indeed. I think, though, the outside run, Hobbs has maintained just a little bit more corner speed and scrubbed a bit off. But the inside line, Hobbs will just hang on round the outside of the start-finish. 2/100ths of a second at the line between the 27 and the 24. Doesn't get much closer than that, given that was maybe, what, the front fender?
Yeah, it was literally all there was that little bit of plastic on the front. Separate those two drivers, but congratulations, Ewan Baker. Great drive in the end there. Race 2, wowee. This 10-car field, these guys know how to put on a show for us.
They sure do, as we will go to your provisional race results in just a moment's time. And indeed, here they are on screen. Your 10 drivers all finishing both races tonight, which is good to see. 0.3 of a second the margin at the line between Ewan Baker and Cameron Dance, with another 400ths back to Dion de Graaf to round out our podium. Ben Christensen looking a little lonely on the timing sheets there in P number 4, but that's all right. That was a good race from him, recovering from race number 1. Lindsay Hobbs, Stead Miller round out your, go 5th and 6th, I should say, with the 200ths of the second between them. Then Robert Henry having to recover after the contact with de Graaf, 30 seconds back for him, unfortunately. Kevin West, unfortunately, came unstuck a couple of times, sees him also back there. P9 to Matt Hayward, and late spin for Henry King, plus a pit lane penalty of some description. Mr. Kennedy has put 52 out in quite literally no man's land here tonight. Well, that's half our racing done for the evening. It's time for us, I think, to take a short break here at SimSpeed TV, and then we're going to do that format all over again, but we're going to step it up with an extra 2 cylinders to make it flat 6s all around. Stay tuned to us here on SimSpeed TV after these short messages.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Plus Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
It's the seventh event of the 2023 V8SCOPS Support Series here at Virginia National Raceway in, obviously, Virginia. SimSpeed TV. It's finished with the flat fours, and now we add 2 cylinders and go back out again. Flat sixes. Hey Kennedy and Dan Yeaman here in the booth for the racing tonight. Before we get into the racing action in the have another look at this beautiful, fantastic location of racing tonight, Virginia International Raceway. A track that was almost lost to us throughout the 90s, reopened in 2000. It's a country club, much like you would see at a golf course, the same sort of membership format, and that saved the track from further closure. Now, it's iconic circuits in North America. 17 turns clockwise, 5.2 kilometers in length. As you saw from the flat fours, it is a track that breeds absolute action. Love this track. Love watching racing here. It's going to be absolute fantastic in flat sixes coming up. Format for this flat six is very, very similar to what we saw in the flat fours. Other than 25-minute races, we see 2 races of 16 laps in length. This track, obviously, major passing opportunities. Saw in 14 one in first race, or the races for flat 4. Roller coaster, the other one. Main one obviously is the horseshoe as well at turn 1. Can potentially make a move at turn 11 in at 12. So a couple of times we did see that in flat 4s that didn't quite pay off for our drivers at the moment. Speaking of, our are on track in practice, out in qualifying in just a moment's time. This is the format as it is for 3 round in the flat sixes. 10-minute qualifying. Tonight being a 2 race format, 16 laps. Compulsory pit stop for minimum of 2 tyres in both races as well. So the drivers will have to pit stop practice in as well while they can. Not far off getting the cars out on track. Qualifying as well at the moment in practice. Corey Lazarus is the pace setter in this session. Lots of familiar names though out on track tonight that we've seen throughout this series and other Porsche series. SimSpeed, so don't be surprised to see a few familiar names up in the pointy end of the racing. The whole field separated about 4 seconds at the moment, but it's hard to understand what everyone is doing in the practice session because give a clear understanding of what everyone is up to in regards to setup and the like. We've got Dan Yeaman back. He's just working on a couple of tech issues in the back for the broadcast. Dan, I can't talk much anymore. I'm not good at this talking without someone to help me.
All right. Well, what I'll do is I'll talk, but also keep working in the background a tiny bit because
you're good enough to do it, but I'm happy.
Well, I can certainly try and manage. Let's go with that. Yes, I'm just sort of maneuvering some files around and just trying to make things look a little bit more like what I'm expecting to be. Qualifying has just got underway, so you know what? Get that footage on screen. That would probably be a smart option there, I would suggest, as I keep working away at this. I am chasing one more file for you, and yep, hunt that ID down. Open that
While you're doing that, we'll have a look at cars out on track and something in the session. We've got Thomas Hins leading the way. We've got Cameron Dance out there as well, doing back-to-back double duty. Stead Miller and Lindsay Hobbs also doing double duty, in the flat 4s as well. I believe they're the only ones that did both, I can see, but also here Taylor Oakes, who we've seen throughout the season, Craig Mason, Isaac Edwards, Ben Peterson, Mark Noble. Great to see Nobby back out, having back for a little while. Gordon Ramsay's back Sam Sproul. We've got Simon Mazzomo also returning to the track. We've got a lot of drivers that will be very, very fun to watch out on this circuit. We will jump on board Thomas Hinz starts his lap, and we'll watch where he tries to find his time on this circuit, because there's a lot of time to be found if you nail the course quite well on this track.
100%, that is the case, especially in a higher power car. Obviously means straightaways are, I guess, a little more forgiving, but there's so much rhythm and flow in that first sector, especially that demands your attention around this place. As I hopefully am getting a little closer to finishing off my work here in the background.
Let's watch this lap from Thomas Hinz while you continue to fix things in the background for me. I struggle to multitask as it is and then somehow make this work. Asking what you're doing as well would not be good. Here we go through turn 1 for Hinz. Very, very smooth. Great exit out through this little kink of 2 coming up to 3 at NASCAR Bend. You need to make sure that you use all of the runoff on the exit. Did miss the apex by a fair margin though, so cost him a little bit of time for here at left hook, and then hook it back in. Turn 5 and 5A, he's done those very, very nicely. Up to Snake, one of the cool parts of the track, accelerating while you're moving and getting away through that segment. Up through 7, 8, 9 and 10, as we've both said, probably the most fun part of this track.
Alright, there we go. I can now give you my full attention, as
It's them up now.
I do believe I have done the work. So, let's have a closer look here for myself personally at Thomas Hinz's lap. That looked pretty decent there off of the oak tree as the speed climbs down Madison Avenue. In these cars, we're definitely seeing a wee bit better speed. I think it was about 190-ish kilometers an hour as Thomas Hinz 265 with no toe as he comes onto the brakes to pull it up for the roller coaster. It's a very nice job to do so there, and just kiss the curbs ever so slightly and then pitch it in. Get up over that left side curb, just kiss the apex for the start of the hog pen, and then keep your foot pinned whilst trying to get to the apex of 17A. It doesn't really get to it, but will use the track as that works well. 47.69 on the board. Sorry, 47.67 on the board, I should say. It's our... Well, actually, pardon me, not our first flying time, because Matthew Deere currently got the best on the board for the moment. As we now look at Craig Mason in the 47 machine. He's just coming out of the pits, so yet to put a representative time on the board here, Joe.
Notice throughout this session is that drivers will probably just run the car as long as they can. These tyres do take a little bit up, so you won't want to come into the pits and change tyres midway through the session. You'll want to continue on, push on your entirety of the stint, remembering the no escape rule is in effect in this series as well, as per normal. So you cannot come in and escape your car, back to the pits and then come in. We'll see what happens in regards to that. Taylor Oakes may have had to escape, as has Lynn Hobbs. I can also see Stead Miller in the pits as well. So a few drivers that are sitting in the pits that are already session done, as we are halfway through.
I've just also noticed there was a minor incident down at turn 1 for Mark Noble and Gordon Ramsay. And John Courtney had a moment all by himself at the start of the Snake. Now, interestingly, for Ramsay, he'd actually backed off and was sitting well off the racing line out on the left side of the circuit. And unfortunately for Mark Noble, I think got a little bit suckered in and missed his braking marker. And that was the problem there. And well, just actually contact from Noble locking up the brakes as Deere actually goes back to the top just after Corey Lazarus had snatched it a moment ago.
Tins up to P2 as well.
My word, yeah. Less than half a tenth covering our top 3 at the moment is some really impressive pace to see out here in the flat sixes. Samuel Sproul making 4 cars inside of 7 100s. And Lazarus will then jump to the top and make it 7 100s exactly, pulling an 8 millisecond margin to Deere behind. My word, it is stacking up tight right at the top.
Yeah, very, very close at the top of the timesheets now for everyone in this field. 4/700ths of a second as Mizomo, you slot in there.
Join the party.
Top 5 700ths.
On a no-toe lap from what it looks like to the end at least, but my goodness, I wasn't expecting this when I sat down to watch the flat six tonight. Now, I have had the pleasure of seeing some of these drivers already race this week, but that was on the banks of Daytona in these cars. It's a completely different animal, and we haven't raced at VIR in some time, and now they've come out and apparently brought their A game. Plus, we've got Matthew Deere getting involved here as well. Hins looks like he's on another flyer here as he works his way down the hill of roller coaster. See, he's got about 17 seconds, make it 15 now to get to the line and make this one a good one. Working the car through hog pen. He's pushing really hard through the hog pen there. That might just be okay with the left rear in the dirt. He'll push on anyways as they come to the line here now. 147.421 to beat. He will go to the top if it counts. It does.
Great lap there from Thomas Hins. Corey Lazarus now, what will he do on this lap? I've just also seen there, you saw Matthew Deere in the pits. He is session done, will not go any faster. Cameron Dance goes P1.
My, oh my.
This lap from Lazarus as well off the pace too. He's not going to get another run. He's done.
This has been a qualifying session. I was not ready for gaps. Blowout to a more quote-unquote reasonable 3/10 covering 6 cars. Mizomo to the line for the final time. He'll jump up. Well, actually, that might just be about the same. No, he will. He'll cut that gap down. He puts himself to P3, and that is his session done. And, well, makes a bit of a meal of turn 1 in the process.
I don't think he'll care.
He does not. Oh, he cannot possibly care. 600ths behind Hins, 10th and a half behind Dance, 400ths ahead of Lazarus. And a lot of these cars, it looks like a lot of them are not bothering with finding toe. They're working on making sure they find themselves clean track to go and race with, rather than worrying about where everyone else is for that run down Madison or maybe the front straight. Ramsey going to be one of our final drivers, it looks like, to complete a lap here in the 103. Following Ben Peterson around in the 81. Peterson says his final chance to put a lap on the board. Unfortunately, doesn't count for Peterson. Ramsey also, unfortunately, invalidated his lap. So that is their session done. Next across the line will be Lindsay Hobbs. Nope, he's into the pit lane. Sam Sproul going to be the next one towards the line. He will get there in time. The 606 have for us here. And he's committing. Looking to improve on a 47.491, Jay. As pedal to the metal. 5, 6, 7. And unfortunately for Samuel Sproul, it will not be an improvement in the dying seconds.
It'll be session done by the time everyone else gets to the line. They will be out of time. So we'll get our starting grid up on screen in just a moment's time. Wow, what a qualifying session that was. That was absolutely amazing how close that was.
I just simply did not see that coming
in
any way, shape, or form. As the drivers will take to the grid. I've just noticed there is one more paint I should try and fiddle for you. So the great thing is
run through the grid.
You run through the grid, and the great thing is that means I've got a moment here to do that one. But you do the full grid run.
Yep, so Cameron Dance will start on pole position alongside Thomas Hins. Only 100th of a second separating those guys. Another a 10th of a second, 100th of a second, 600th of a second even, Simon Mizomo. Then another 400th of a second further back is Corey Lazarus, your top 4 within fence. Only 100th further back is Matthew Deere. A couple of hundredths further back for Sam Sproul. That is top 6 within a quarter of a second. Gordon Ramsay in 7th position with Harry Dodds. He'll start in 8th position. 9th, Ben Pedersen. 10th will be Mark Noble. Great qualifying for him. 11th position will be Peter Pavlovic. Don Courtney alongside him on row number 6. Row 7 will be Anthony Green and Isaac Edwards in positions 13 and 14. Stead Miller in 15th position alongside Craig Mason. Got Taylor Oakes and Aaron Gilbert. Actually, Aaron, safety car. The next car will be Lindsay Hobbs in that field of 18 drivers for this race. As we said, 16 laps for both races tonight. Races ahead of our drivers. We'll be working these cars extremely hard. Going to be getting pressure into the tyres as quick as possible. Then working out when to pit for 2 tyres. Again, thinking about tyre pressure. When do you pit? When do you come in and take those tyres? Which tyres do you take?
Well, we'll have to answer those questions as we're going. Revs have risen, green flag in the air. We're away for the 3rd race of the night at Virginia. The first for the flat sixes and contact in the middle of the pack. Gordon Ramsay and Ben Pedersen have come together, but Anthony Green is mounted upon somebody else. Isaac Edwards is buried underneath him in the number 15 as Mazzomo's taking the lead from Cameron Dance. Oh, it's going to roll Green over. We might just get a safety car off this as there's multiple cars off in the dirt. Pit lane is quasi at risk here. When Green jumps on the radio, I expect we're going to get a safety car in a moment's notice here. And indeed, he's told to hold. Well, can't exactly go anywhere.
It's not like you can drive away, is it?
But, well, the controversy has arrived as everyone else works their way up the hill for the first time. Everyone's gotten going from turn 1 as well. Still waiting on a word from race control because that car is inching towards the pit lane. It's going to block the pits and they realistically can't allow that car to stay out on track here as the rest of the field up by the oak tree for the first time to head down Madison Avenue. Mazzomo off to a excellent lead of 0.8 of a second, but the safety car is scrambled and the field neutralized here, which means we might just get ourselves a host of pit stops under the safety car here once that pit lane opens at the end of lap number 2.
Start. That was not what either of us were expecting there. See a car upside down at the start of the race. Or cars mounted on top. That's how GT4. Come on, you got to laugh at my joke. Come on.
Well, is it 2 cup cars making the baby GT? I suppose making a GT4 is the appropriate baby.
It's the baby car they're making, is it?
Yeah, that does seem about appropriate. As I check. Everyone bunches up behind the Pagnin Imports Porsche Cayman GT4 safety car, and I've just noticed something else there in the foreground of shot.
I noticed that too, so we'll just ignore that. Second. You help me out there. Something else. So, some other things before we get a replay up, but a very, very interesting start to that.
It was, and the fact I got fixated on Pedersen and Ramsay, who ended up a bit of contact between the two of them, but then all of a sudden I look back and find that we've got the 308 somehow clambering all over the top of the number 15, or the 15 wedging itself up under, or in and under, I should say, the 308. We'll hopefully have the answers for you in a second. In fact, we will get them now. So this is on board with Isaac Edwards in the number 15 machine towards the rear of the train for this race start. Now, Green is he just there on our right?
Yes.
No. Oh, so no, right in front of. Oh no, tagged, spun, and oh my word. Right, outboard shot required to make sense of how they've gotten entangled, because I can't even fully process what's happened there in all of that. So attempt number 2. So okay, Edwards drives across the nose of Green, and yeah, okay. So the Armco just picks him up and rolls that car across the front of the car. Now, compulsory pit window opens at the end of this lap, but safety car is coming in. Jay, is anyone going to dive to the pits while the field is compressed and getting back to racing speeds? And we'll have relatively cold tyres as well still, which will somewhat neutralize the loss or the imbalance that would be generated by switching over 2 of your tyres to a fresh set.
I would say yes. I think if you're in the mid-pack, you do. I think if you're at the front, you don't. But if you're in the mid-pack or feeling like you're a little out of position, you don't come in. Will Mazomo, Dance, Hins come in? I don't think so. Actually, I'll take that back. They're all
There we
coming.
go. No, it's just Mazomo and Dance. Hins is given control of the race, and that is something you rarely see in racing, as the top 2 completely blow your strategic expectations out of the water. They're joined by Taylor Oakes, Harry Dodds, and Isaac Edwards having been able to get going. So the 52 of Hins is sent to the lead of the race off the exit of the hog pen. Corey Lazarus promoted to second. Matthew Deere to third as trouble for one of our cars at the back. It's Stead Miller in an Excalibur Esports paint job. There is, Matthew Deere's loose at turn 4. That's going to be all kinds of trouble because he rejoins on the apex of 5. Ben Pearson's going to be crisscrossed and locked up in here behind that car. Samuel Sproul gets through at least. But after a fantastic quality result, a little edgy on cold tyres for the 116 as they work their way up the hill at racing speed for the second time in this race.
Black flag,
behind there.
Simon Mazomo speeding in pit lane.
Oh no, the 954. How much has he sped past the pit entry line? That is the next question. I'm going to have a look at this here on my personal copy. He was a bit quick. He was doing 96 at the line. Cameron Dance, not much better. Oh, yeah, they were way... oh, dear me. They were a long way past the pit speed limit.
Seen that as well. It's lucky for Dance, but unfortunate for Momo that played out in that way. But, yeah. Wow. What a start to the race. We've had some amazing action in these races tonight, and only tiny smidgen of the way through this race.
We are, and...
Listen.
All right. More cars pulling in for the pit lane. They've got to be careful here. It's such a slow pit speed limit that these kinds of cars are coming in. And Pearson asking for a review of the pit entry there. Now, instead, Miller's been given a black flag for his pit entry in the 024 Excalibur Esports Porsche Cup car. Let's watch you jump on board with Peterson here for a moment. I was going to check, so actually finally, or fully look at this here. So up and over the hog pen, back down through the gears to third, and then try and keep it middle of the road. Oi! Yep, little snatch of the rear. Thankfully, keeps it inside the entry guidelines, and carries on his merry way as we head back to live pitches. Lap 4 of 16 in this race, and Corey Lazarus is looking to go hunting here on the back of Thomas Hins. These two have already seen action this week. Yeah, that was over at Daytona, Jay, so a bit of a different beast, as it were, in some respects. But the slipstream here from Oak Tree down the Madison straightaway, not too dissimilar, I guess, given length and importance and all that jazz. It's just not as fast, per se, but not by much. Oh, Hins gives up and just gives the lead to Lazarus.
Yeah, I was going to say that the draft is going to be a lot stronger here in these cars than what we saw earlier in the Toyota 86. So, yeah, smart move from Hins there. Just give up the spot. No point fighting it. And then he'll come back and do the same move back next lap, you would think. But that's, he may not be able to. See what happens here. This is into an interesting segment of the race now, with half the field pitting, half the field not. What does that other half do? When do they come in? They're going to have to go as long as possible, you would think, based on how this race is playing.
Yeah. Then again, all trouble down at turn 1 for a couple of cars. Lindsay Hobbs off in the dirt in the number 27. The 65 of John Courtney also going a little slow as Ben Peterson's had a moment. Oh dear, the rear end.
It's on the
Complete lock.
cold tyres. I'm going to guess that he's taken rears.
That would suggest that to be the case there, yes. And unfortunately, it's definitely gotten away with him. Gap still 7/10 at the front of the field, meanwhile, between Lazarus and Hinz. Samuel Sproul, though, looking to keep in touch and make it a three-way sandwich, which for the Blackout Motorsport
Sounds
NZ
good.
boys, and
It's tasty.
it's Hinz. Okay, well, let's just try that. Oh, yeah, look. Apparently, we're already getting to three-quarter distance on Friday night. I've got 6 hours of commentary coming up tomorrow.
6 hours of commentary, you and I together, is going to be very interesting with out there. You're going to be sick of me by the.
You say that, but I keep coming back to you every couple of weeks for advice. So, like, you appreciate it. Well, how about this? A mistake from Lazarus over the roller coaster has just slashed his advantage that he had to Thomas Hinz. 7/10 down to 2. As Hinz will actually go for the pit lane here on lap number 5. Now, he was a little close to cutting across the pit entry there, but I think he got the car safely over. I'm just going to wait another second. And, yep, he's now halfway down the lane and no sign of a black flag in sight. So, all okay with Hinz. We've lost Taylor Oakes from behind the wheel of the 313.
I'm guessing that's a
Motorsport
technical.
machine.
Seeing 2, is that? I saw another car driving in there as well. No, wrong thing. So I'll just shut up. But he's going to get that stop done. Actually, it's a little bit longer than we saw from Cameron Dance. About 3 seconds longer. So taking the correct 2 tyres is very, very important. As you said before, making sure that you took the right 2 tyres could have been crucial in the flat 4s, but it seems to be even more crucial in these cars than the Toyota 86.
Yeah. Supposedly, I haven't ever had a chance to confirm, and it's one of the things where it's like, if we could confirm, there'd be a certain sort of NASCAR, IndyCar style pit update to the pit graphics would be beautiful. We could see where our wheelmen operated their guns on these cars to change tyres over. But the working theory is that the pit crews start on the pit wall side of the car. So here at Virginia, that will be the right side tyres, which obviously get a bit of work up through turn 10 like so, and then also a little bit exiting the roller coaster. But you would argue the left side tyres are getting the most worked around here with the apex of the roller coaster, the hog pen, turn 1, start of the snake, and Oak Tree, as 27 of Hobbs has had a moment at said roller coaster. Oh dear, he's well off down in the dirt. And
that's a long way offline. Don't go too far that way.
There is a big old hump.
Actually, a landmine off if you go a little bit further to the left, to the right of screen at the left of the circuit. It's where there's no wall and the world disappears. So you've got to be careful. He comes back out in front of his teammate there, Stead Miller, who has gone a lap down due to his issues early on. Peter Pavlovich also in Century Motorsport car.
So more drivers shuffling and getting service. And okay, some news from Race Control. Try-through penalty going to be issued to the 15 of Isaac Edwards for the...
I'm not surprised by that call.
The pile on, pile in, pile on, pile up. Take your pick as to exactly which one you want tonight, folks.
Cluster that happened. Calamity.
That's far too boring. Anyway, no, the one we're talking about is the race start. Down turn 1, I believe. We're at 102nd and involving Mark Hope, great race. Mention with these penalty goes to in fact, they get it on the replay. Let's suggest. So they're watching the carnage that was happening there, and there. Yeah, I see why the great race based on the that you played bowling. Down John Courtney.
You get a strike, though. You're going to play bowling, you want to get the strike, and he did.
How long three cars that maintain a strike?
Look, if you're only aiming for 3 and you get all 3... Alright, then, well, he got the strike.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll get some of this out of my system earlier. So he's in the lane to serve his penalty now. John Courtney...
You're so glad I've found extra commentators for this 24-hour broadcast tomorrow.
Well, that's why we're not... That's why we're not doing 24 hours.
I'm already going loopy. It's not even the right day for it.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering what I'm going to try and fuel myself up with tomorrow to make this. Because, yeah, then I'm turning around for Sunday evening. Not so much for the second half of the commentary stint there. I'll leave some other hapless souls to be entertained by your presence. But the continuation of this here that we're watching now in terms of the main event for V8 SCOPS. Back on Sunday evening as, well, usual. As we see John Courtney exiting the lane from his pit stop. We now have just 3 cars left for service. Lazarus, Sproul, and Ramsey. The drivers remaining as they come down to the pit lane. Looking at lap times here real quick. 1:47.6 for Lazarus. The only cars close are Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinz doing 47.7s at this current stage of the evening. Question from Taylor Oakes in the YouTube chat, also from Nicholas Owen, back on lap 1. Did he at least buy him dinner first?
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm probably going to say no, Nicholas. Also, to everyone who has been chatting along with us on YouTube, I have been keeping an eye on it, and I have to say big thanks to you all for tuning in and keeping the chat lively. If you've got any questions about the racing for us...
Look, about anything. We'll answer anything.
I thought the idea was to keep them entertained in the racing action, but hey...
We'll answer anything. If we don't know the answer, we'll make it up.
Yeah, you might make it up, I guess. You see, because there's an important question from Taylor Oakes, who's left the race, or had issues. Apologies if I'm suggesting the wrong way over the other there, Taylor. Why is everything so late compared to last year? That's probably more a question for Henry King. But
I think we are any later than last year. I think last year we started all the broadcasts at 8:30 Australian Eastern, and this year we're starting the broadcasts at 7:30. So I don't think
we did start late. We did start 8:30ish earlier in the summer, but that was because it was summertime
savings. Yeah,
for those of us who observe it on the East Coast. And in fact, there you go, Henry King's actually listening in and going to actually answer on our behalf. So there you go, series administrator paying attention to the YouTube chat. We don't need to muddy the waters there. Thank you, Henry. I'll leave it to you. The answer being, we've got 2 different categories racing.
We had 2 different categories last year, though, too. Remember? Because we had the Jettas in between the 2 races.
Yeah, but that was the Jettas. Come on.
Yeah, well, the Jettas were about the same pace, similar pace to... Similar pace to anything. I've seen that John Courtney's had a moment at turn 1, but he's just had a little self-spin. That's second after hitting his new tyres, 2 tyres for him. Interesting, Harry Dodds.
Lazarus from the lead to the pits.
Yep, Lazarus in. Harry Dodds has taken 4 tyres at his pit stop.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a strategic blunder there. Tyres are nice, but when they cost you 16 odd seconds, that's very costly indeed. Has put him back with Simon Zomo, who is trying to recover from his pit lane penalty for speeding on the entry. Coming actually back real quick to the pit penalty for Mazomo real quick. I had a look at it because he sort of looked back at Cameron Dance, who had escaped the wrath of the gods, it seems, because he pretty much did exactly the same thing, including being massively overspeed at the cones. Both drivers attempt to slow down, and Thomas Hinz takes the effective race lead behind. Cameron Dance and Hinz have both gone through. Well, if ever there was a sign the power of the undercut compels you, that was it right there. As both Dance and Hinz have charged on through. Lazarus most definitely, though, in the hunt for second effective. Although he's hustling and the tyres aren't quite game. as they get a little loose underneath him there through the NASCAR bend, Mr. Kennedy. But, yeah. 2 major classes this year, just to think about the format. Because, yeah, as much as we liked the Jettas, as we go on board Mizomo real quick, and that's looking fun. So it's not that. It's how quick he's going at the line, which is about 90-odd kilometers an hour. So about 50% over speed.
Yeah.
He does try and get it underslowed, but not enough apparently to appease the any violations of the pit speed entry. Sam Sproul goes 1 lap longer than his teammate in Corey Lazarus. Gordon Ramsay will follow on in from what was second. They will now cycle back, you would think, to positions whether it be 4 and 5 as Dance. That safety car pit stop seems to have been executed to a T here in this race.
Seen Craig Mason come in for a second stop. So he came in to serve his black flag. Black flag was not. Now he's come in to do another pit stop. So I was thinking that the black flag was a stop and hold, but he's actually. Sorry, it was a drive-through, but he's actually stop and penalty. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Sproul rejoins just ahead of Lazarus. So Sam Sproul has done a very, very good job in the pit stop. He's actually jumped Corey Lazarus in that stop.
Now, that is something I wasn't expecting to see. We just saw how powerful the undercut was for... I think Sproul's not in any mood to fight because they are teammates at Blackout Motorsports NZ. And I think on cold tyres, Sam is more than happy to play shotgunner. Although the man behind... No, it's Matthew Deere who's in behind them with his early pit stop in this race. Deere has recovered somewhat to be P5 as the field has effectively been cycled. Yes, everyone has now come into the pit lane for at least a stop for tyres. And we are down, unfortunately, from 18 starters down to 12 on the road. So, been a bit of a rough one in terms of attrition tonight.
Go back out again for race 2, though, which will be coming up in not too long. Only 5.5 laps to go. This race, despite the safety car, has still gone by at a pretty rapid rate. Up the front of the field, gaps are staying pretty stable between Hins and Dance, but this little group here between Lazarus, Sproul, and Deere is going to get quite heated, you would think, 5 minutes. It
certainly could, yeah. To me, it feels like a question of, despite his fantastic qualifying pace, a game where the Deere can hold on. And I'm not going to say the obvious pun.
You're in the headlights?
No, would have been holding on for dear life at this point, Jake.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Given that his tyres are 8 laps older than Ramsey's, Sproul's, and Lazarus's, give or take a lap or 2 in all of that one there. I mean, come on. The hook, line, sinker, if ever I saw one, and apparently we missed it there. As I'm also apparently got my cameras are glued to Harry Dalton, so am Mizomo, and so is yours, because you've come and joined the fight as they exit the hold pen at the end of lap 11 for their opening race here today. Bit of toe to the 9.54, but he's not quite there, Jay, as they work down to turn 1. Mezel not quite beyond the white line denoting the edge of the track there, but no attempt of a move there just yet. Meanwhile, Sproul dropping away from Lazarus. Deere hanging on quite nicely to keep him honest here. And I would honestly suggest that'll... Okay, yep, there's a bit of action there.
Yeah, thought about making the move, but decided to back out of it at the last second. But definitely getting held up here is Mizomo by this fight.
Oh, no offense to Harry Dodds, but Mizomo's qualifying pace and general race pace, it would seem, would suggest that, yeah, Dodds may be a little outmatched. Okay, we said 2 wide was okay in the flat 4s. The flat 6s is still definitely is a bit more of a gamble with extra speed, extra width, and a whole lot more risk. Both drivers using about, well, a bit more than the racetrack to try and... But Mez isn't actually too disappointed by that.
Well, if anything,
but
it's
he
just
is
given him an
run-
advantage here, hasn't it? Because he's now got the
Yeah.
run down Madison Avenue. He would have lost that momentum, and he's going to get the move done here, you would think.
Well, that's if Dodds taps the brakes. He does actually decide that that was enough action for one lap, and he'll let Mez have that spot for now. It's really starting to brew for P4 as well, and would you look at that? I start saying the words. It's like Jay's in my head. It knows exactly
It's
what
like
I'm trying to suggest.
we've both produced these shows before, isn't it? Like we know where to look on the timing screen for battles, isn't it?
It is true. You do sort of learn to keep tabs on things, or just learn to desperately. As Lazarus has had a mistake up ahead through the snake. All right then. I thought this was a 2-car scrap for fourth. It's about to come a 3-car scrap for third. And look at the damage on the right front corner. Now that is some relatively substantial splitter damage, which will hurt the top speed and the handling of that car. So you see, it's all okay through here. Oh, loose, and slap off the tires. Thankfully,
He might have
keeps
got
it
away with that.
keeps it straight. But he will suffer a little bit for straight line speed by not a kilometre or two only, but it will make a difference, especially compared to a car that's got a clean front end and got the slipstream to boot. Look how quickly Sproul is catching. Actually, I don't know how to say Sam's last name. Sproul?
Sproul? He didn't correct us the other night when we were talking to him, so I'm guessing Sproul.
Sam knows where to find me, and he knows exactly how to...
He knows how to message you. Message us.
message us, / also know how to punish me publicly for that failure. Let's just say it's been one of the more interesting seasons of running my own series. Thanks to the creative chaos that is apparently inside Sam's head. Oh, he gets a love tap this time from the rear. So is this Sam, I think, backing up a little bit to try and let Corey get back into his rhythm and say, "You're good. I'm not racing you. I'll try and hold up. I'll hold up, Matt." I mean, it's not what a racer would do, but not gonna lie, I'm just getting a vibe from the past couple of laps. Sam Sproul is not here to race Corey Lazarus tonight, and would seem to be rather happy to protect Corey from the potential late charge of Matthew Deere with 3 laps to go at the line.
Is he protecting Corey, or is he just protecting himself by making his car extremely wide?
I mean, first line of defense should probably be for himself, that is true. I just sort of get this feeling, like, good run down Madison Avenue last time and good run down the front stretch. No inkling of attempting to apply pressure to Lazarus, unless he's saving it for the end of the race, in which case I'll be made one giant liar of myself, and I'll be a fool for thinking a racer suddenly turns off their basic instincts, even if there are teammates involved in the situation.
We've seen tonight teammates aren't scared to get involved and get a bit of argy-bargy, so, I mean, if we maintain what we saw in the Toyotas, we could see these guys start to get argy-bargy, especially if Lazarus doesn't have pace at the top end. 2 laps to go, we're going to find out in the next 10 kilometres.
Yeah, we are, because look how close Sproul is. No hint of a move up the inside of turn 1. Trying to angle in. None of the drivers here really working out wide for NASCAR Bend. And oh dear, though, will work the exit of NASCAR Bend.
Oh, you did it! You did it! Congratulations! Did you know what you said? You said "oh dear." Saying "oh dear" or
why did you?
"oh dear"?
Why did you pull me up on that?
I had to.
Oh.
I had to. It was there. I had to say it.
He says he had to. Right. Well.
I'd expect you to do the same to me.
Well, I'm going to probably disappoint you a little bit, unless I'm... Look, I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to think about tomorrow night and thinking, like, I probably am either going to be functioning on sleep tonight, and then be trying to just push through tomorrow.
that's what I'm going to be pushing on through. Those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, the Majors 24 is on this weekend, the biggest hosted event ever on iRacing. I think they're at 500 teams at the moment. They're looking at 10 splits of drivers. And we are broadcasting from just before 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. and then starting again at 5 p.m. through till 11 p.m. on Sunday. So Dan and I are the silly ones that are going to do the late night shift. And as you can tell, we're already getting delusional now. And we're not even we're more than 24 hours away from starting the stream.
Call it preemptive system shock. Well, look, it's a white flag in Barney's hand. I should maybe think about the racing here and now first as we come to it. Now, that's defensive, I'm going to say, from Sproul, rather than attacking Lazarus as they work their way through turn number 1. Matthew Deere desperately wants by.
I think this is Sproul just trying to hold his spot.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, it does feel more like, yeah, Sproul is now, I think, yeah, working on defending his own position. The question is, does Deere just settle in for P5, take that starting spot for the second race, since it is a... Oh, excuse me there.
That out now.
Nice.
I'm used to hearing hiccups. It's usually from a 5-week-old, not from a
25-year-old? Thanks, yeah. I'm not immune to all of life's mysteries and quirks. I've now completely lost my train of thought. Fully progressive grid. Just like flat fours. That's what I was trying to get to. So, Matthew, I mean, he could maybe afford a go, given that Ramsey is 10 seconds back. But at the same time, maybe don't tick off the cars you're starting around for race 2. And just settle in for the long run. It's the multitude of options here as they work their way up to the roller coaster for the final time. Looks like no change of position for the time being, so we will flick our eyes forward to the man who made the safety car pit stop strategy work like a charm. Cameron Nance will snatch the opening win of the round here at VIR ahead of Thomas Hins in P2. And yeah, that damage looking decently substantial for Corey Lazarus, but he will hold on ahead of Sproul and Deere to round out the top 5 in this opening race for the flat sixes. Ramsey across the line there next in 6th. And have a bit of a gap back to Ben Peterson there, although not much, all things considered. Oh, Ben, that's finishing the race across the grass, if you will. Mind you, it's a good look at the PGA Australia paint job on that car, I guess. Getting all angles. And then Mizomo and Dodds next across the line. Mizomo, yep, definitely checking out once they got clear towards the end. And we'll have a top 10 in a bit, but actually we'll have to wait for the top 10 perhaps to pull up the provisional results perhaps. We've got some results for you anyways. We'll see if they
We'll wait for everyone. It's the line.
That's a good idea. It's just Peter Pavlovich left now who's coming through the hog pen. You can actually refresh the paints.
I do need to do that.
Whilst you're on B-roll. That seems like a good idea at this point. Because you only have a minute of warm-up left, and then you'll
roll around very quick.
Yeah, it will. Because there we go, Pavlovich across the line. We should now have the chance to get the official results for the race. There we go. 4 seconds the gap between Dance and Hins. 1 and 2. Lazarus, Sproul, and Deere to round out that battle pack and the top 5 on the road here tonight, with Gordon Ramsay about 10 seconds back there in 6th. Then Peterson for 7th ahead of Mizomo in 8th, who breaks away from Harry Dodds for 9. And John Corney to round out your top 10 in that one. Peter Pavlovich 11th, and your final driver to finish on the lead lap. And unfortunately, we did have ourselves quite the fatality. There's Craig Mason retiring 8 laps short of the finish, or about the halfway mark, if you will. Sturdy Miller and Lindsay Hobb with Discovery Esports there. Unfortunately, Jay having a bit of a rough one in the 6s, going 10 and 11 laps down respectively. Taylor Oakes out early as well at 13 laps down, with Mark Noble, Anthony Green not completing lap number 1 there, unfortunately, with your 2 safety car drivers down the bottom there of the sheet to wrap things up. And just like the flat 4s, we've just used our warm-up time to run through your results, which will set the grid for race 2. So we've only got about another minute before we get another green flag here.
We will get the full time We do have safety cars in the field, so we will be able to run through the entirety of this grid. Lovely liveries once again. Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinds on the front row, with Corey Lazarus and Dan Sproul on row number 2. Row 3 will be Gordon Ramsay. Row 4 will be Ben Pedersen and Simon Mazzomo. Back to Harry Dodds and John Courtney. In P number 11 will be Peter Pavlovich, with P12 for Isaac Edwards. Stead Miller, Lindsay Hobbs, Taylor Oakes, Mark Noble, and Anthony Green. Drivers will be looking for a lot of redemption.
There are going to be a lot of stories indeed. We are missing Taylor Oakes, unfortunately, so we are down from 18 to 17 to take the green. But alas, the revs rise for the final time tonight for your V8SCOPS supports racing at Virginia International Raceway. The flat sixes are underway, and it's a bad start from Matthew Deere. Ben Peterson going to the inside to get across the pit entry. It doesn't work this time, though. Isn't forced to the grass. Dance defends from Lazarus, who's going to lose the rear on the apex of 1, and clips Sproul. Who else can hit him or avoid him? Oh, no, he's been hit by one of the Excalibur cars. It looks like it's going to be Stead Miller who picks up a whack of damage for that one there. And Lazarus, as he stalled it out and a little stuck, but gets it going. Just an extended period to get going again as the rest of the field heads to the snake. And I think we'll stay green here on this opening lap as they find their feet on cold tyres once again.
Ramsey, great start. He's up into 3rd position. Matthew Deere and Ben Peterson and 5th, so top 5. A couple of big movers. Simon Mazzomo, I was really concerned that he may have got a jump start penalty. Oh, that's a bit wide for Isaac Edwards.
Was a hit check up at...
Oh, no.
Oh, dear. That's a lot of cars. Noble off.
Harry Dodds is off too.
Yeah, I saw a big old hip check. And now we've got Matthew Deere serving... No, just going slow. Lazarus is serving a slowdown elsewhere on the circuit. Dodds rejoins him at Oak Tree now, as we've got Sproul versus Peterson up at the roller coaster here on lap 1 for 4th place. As yeah, Mark Noble actually towed instantly and seems to have quit the race there.
Stole it.
Yeah, he did make it back to the pits momentarily, but yeah, it was as good as done there tonight. So unfortunately, another one down within a moment's notice. So 16 remain here in the flat 6 is Mazzomo. Well, actually, no, still where he started this race now in 8th. Oh, Isaac Edwards off again. Oh, unfortunately, I do not even need to check who that is. Oh, it's Cameron Dance, your race leader, deciding to take a dip through the grass at turn 1. On the outside, the rejoin! Oh, my word, how that didn't become a disaster for the cars coming through there. Mazzomo, Courtney, Pavlovich, and Mason. Barris some margins, and Matthew Deere trying to cut back through the field as well as Dance. Oh, my goodness. We saw him get... Yeah, he has now. That's for sure. We saw him bragging the absolute limits out of his flat 4. Also, don't forget, yeah, he's done 50 minutes of racing in the flat 4s and then turns to 2:16 laps. So actually under pressure from Hinds at the front of the field and overshoots the brake marker, locks the inside front. It refuses to pull up, but then, yeah, just trying to get the car back and it just swings on him. He's trying not to rejoin the circuit perpendicular, but the back end is pendulumed around on him and there was no recovering from that. But my word, everyone else able to get it pulled up just enough to then flick the steering away from where he was. We've got a battle here now for P6 as we look live, as John Courtney defending from Peter Pavlovich, but for not much longer if this run continues. And you got Matthew Deere coming, teammate of Courtney. Courtney bails out, so Pavlovich and Deere go through, and Deere wants the spot as he forced a mistake. That's deep from Pavlovich. And oh, he's on the limits of the track. Pavlovich keeps it on the road chase somehow, but will lose the spot to the 116 through the roller coaster.
Courtney also made an error there too, and he's lost the spot to Craig Mason, and now Lindsay Hobbs and Cameron Dance are coming back into this group. So few of these guys, I was about to say a few of these guys are going to come into the pits, and right on cue they do. Mazomo in, Deere in, Mason in, Hobbs in, can confirm they are all A-OK with speeding in pit lane. A couple of them very, very close. So Isaac Edwards is serving a mechanical black flag. Thomas Hinds, he's got it easy at the moment. He's just letting everyone else make mistakes around him and driving away from the field.
He is, for the time being. Gordon Ramsay promoted to second, and Ben Peterson behind in third. And well, speaking of the drivers coming into the pits, he said everyone got it pulled up in time this time around. But have to say, the smoke show that Lindsay Hobbs put into his front tyres, you're going to hope he doesn't want to use one of those tyres all that much. But presuming he takes a side of tyres, not an end of tyres, as Ramsey, yeah, but just have a look at this. Both fronts, all kinds of how you do.
They were protesting.
Yeah. One of those tyres, though, I would think stays on the car and is probably going to be hurting all the more for it as we head back to live pitches. And look at this gap here for, well, it's second, third, and fourth, because Sam Sproul, actually, yes, that is Sam Sproul.
It's coming into this group, isn't it?
Yeah. I just have to... Oh, Lindsay Hobbs has gone off on cold tyres somewhere on the approach to turn 3. NASCAR Ben claims another victim. As the 27 finds the right direction on the road. And we turn our eyes back to the 5 for second. I'm looking at town, I'm like, 4.6, is that really Sproul on the background? And the answer is yeah. These cars are faster, genius. The gaps are a bit bigger. As Cameron Dance is on the back bumper of Peter Pavlovich for what will become fourth once they get to turn 1. And Dance is actually going to be there ahead by the start-finish line up the inside there. Pavlovich in the 216 here, not looking to challenge too much. Dance, just get that pulled up, Cam. This time he does.
Be stressing about that corner every single lap. I'll tell you what, he's pushing hard because he just had a huge slide at the exit of that corner as well. So Dance is pushing the tyres hard. Leader of the drivers that has pitted is Simon Mazomo. And remember, he was just leading that group as they came into the pits. But have a look at the gap now he's pulled on Matthew Deere. That's Deere just off in the background. 6 seconds separating those drivers now as Courtney leaves the pits. Coming out behind, Sam Sproul's coming out in between those two, though.
That's obviously important for Mazomo. That puts him basically in the running for second place at the moment in this race.
A great recovery from Mazomo.
Oh, Sproul! Oh! Slams the anchors on through NASCAR Ben to stop that car from going around on the pendulum that is the rear engine. That will have superheated the surface of those tyres just as they were coming out cold. He's also got quite a bit of damage there on that right front corner, which I can't place in my mind. And I'm trying to remember why. So we're going to go on board with Sproul for the replay here. Yep, trying to ease the car in, and it just goes, oh, no, I'd rather go around, but jams on the brakes just enough that he arrests the angle of the slide, but carries it through with the rubber scraping the road surface as Ben Peterson will come in from P number 3.
That's a response to Sproul, isn't it?
It has to be, you'd think, yes.
One thing that, sorry, cut you off there, Dan. One thing I noticed about Sproul that I did like what he did was he didn't try to yank the wheel to correct the slide. He just allowed the car to slide rather than trying to hype-heat the tyres and correct the slide too much. So people that are fairly new to iRacing that often will try and do too much to correct a slide, even in the real world as well, that are new to racing. Sometimes you just got to let the car do its thing and it will correct itself for you.
It's a fair point, yeah. I mean, the big thing would seem to be as here comes Ben Peterson off the lane. Mazomo should have him quite comfortable. Actually, no, it won't be comfortable at all. Mazomo's going to have to commit around the outside. No, he's not going to get there. So can he get the over-under? He can get the over-under cold tyres. Mazomo's in a bit deep there to try and take the spot, but gets ahead now. So indeed, what can Ramsey do? Going that little, and look how far back. Well, as I said, that little slide for Sproul has now put him a ways back and has to now nurse those tyres in a little bit more. But Peterson only just coming. Oh, Matthew Deere's had a trouble at NASCAR bend in the 116 now. Oh, he's facing the wrong way on the road as well. That is not good sign. Has got the car going at least, so no. Oh, he's stalled out on the racing line, I think. or did he just wait for John Courtney? One of the two.
I've just gone and had a little look at the damage for Sam Sproul as well. That was from the incident right at the start of the race where Corey Lazarus looped it at turn 1.
Oh, of course,
He actually slid up into Sproul to sort of half correct himself, but not fully. Yeah, that's where that damage came from.
Yeah, that checks out there. My brain apparently needed that mental refresher. As we watch Mazomo.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that does that, Dan, because I forget things that happen in every race, and then someone says something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that's when that happened.
Yeah, look.
So
Supposedly,
I got my notepad here, and I still forget to write in it.
Who has time for an actual notepad whilst doing everything that we do when we're producing? I certainly wouldn't.
I used to, but I don't seem to have the Stead Miller in. I did once upon a time used to write everything down that I wanted to go back and look at, but that was before we could do a lot of the stuff like that automated. So thank goodness for a lot of automation stuff with regards to replays and the like.
Yeah, I was going to say, as Harry Dodds makes his way by Anthony Green, both cars yet to pit as they're on lap 6 of this race. Although, I think unfortunately, Anthony Green not quite at the speed of Harry Dodds, who's still recovering from contact on lap number 1 on the approach to Oak Tree. And thankfully his car is okay. Stead Miller, on the other hand, is still in his pit lane. And is that car
Stalled it, I think.
stalled? Yeah, because that slid backwards there. And he's not gotten going yet.
He's taken 4 tyres as well, so got the double whammy, taken 4 tyres and then stalled the car on top of that.
And still not going, so that could be problematic indeed. Now putting him at jeopardy of going a lap down, and in fact, yep, we'll go a lap down on Thomas Hins. But 6 cars left to pit in this race. Gap from your leader to Mazomo. We're looking at 43 seconds currently. I don't see how Mazomo catches Hins. But catching Gordon Ramsay, it's going to be right on the bubble there, I'd suggest, as Peter Pavlovich will make it just 5 cars to pit here at the end of lap 6, start of lap number 7.
He's missed his pit box as well, so that good run that he's had, as he's going to reverse it, he's actually stalled the car. There we go, he's in his box now.
Oh, he's got time whilst he's in his box to get it fired up, as long as it didn't stall out whilst he was
Well,
grabbing
he had to reverse it back, and as he's put it in reverse, he's stalled, so he didn't actually get it in reverse.
Oh dear. Unfortunately, news from the lane, Stead Miller has left the server, so we are the attrition.
He actually had a tech issue there.
Perhaps, yeah. There's a lot of possibilities there, as I've just completely realised in my efforts to fix up some paints. Didn't exactly fix up paints per se. Alas, pretend you didn't see a 606 on the side of Gordon Ramsay's car. That is not the number you are looking for. Anyways, just trying to wait and see here. Approaching halfway in the race, lap 7 of 16. Oh, Ben Peterson, what have you? Oh, I'm yawning. Oh dear, this is not meant to be happening yet. It's not even 10 o'clock. I shouldn't be tired. Actually, no, I lied. I've been up since 6:30. That's unusual for me.
Yeah, you normally, you're a night owl, so you getting up early is abnormal.
It's a system shock, but it was for a good cause of supporting interschool sports today. Just that, yeah, first time I've done that. And yes, the 6:30 wake-up call, and still being a bit of a night owl, which meant I didn't properly struggled to adjust my sleep schedule, one would say. Might be a bit short on sleep at the moment. And yet here
I'll completely ruin you tomorrow.
So this is the thing I'm contemplating. Do I try and get a nap time and just break my sleep schedule?
Don't you get a nap in?
For either tomorrow and Sunday.
You're talking to the dad with a newborn. You definitely get a nap.
I like this way of thinking. I will just I mean, I can happily obliterate my sleep schedule in that direction, fixing it back the other way.
But that's
Sometimes.
next week's problem.
Oh, Peterson! Peterson!
Oh, no.
Loses the rear by himself at NASCAR Bend. And unfortunately asks a bit too much of his tyres. That corner is such a tricky one to negotiate. It looks simple on paper, of course. 90-degree left-hander. Flat track at that particular part of the circuit. But coming in through a slight left kink, which is turn 2, on the brakes, that right rear tyre is complaining all the way into the corner. And, well, unfortunately, that there is the pain that one can experience when things don't quite go to plan. End of lap 8, end of the halfway mark in this race. And, yeah, no pressure, it seems, on Thomas Hinz to come to the pit lane. And that would probably be because I believe the gap to Simon Zomo, actually, is it steady or increasing? It is steady. Gained actually nearly 2/10 on the last lap. Did Hinz versus Mez. Gordon Ramsay, though, he lost a second and a half. So that gap between second and sixth, as much as it's unusual, I think that might be the one we'll want to watch. You can see that, yeah, times between Hinz and Mazzomo, even enough that I think...
Not enough to worry about, is it?
Yeah, I don't think so. No. Going for the tyre undercut for Mez. I mean, he also did have to run wide at turn 1 to avoid the spinning Corey Lazarus, and that definitely slowed him down. But that lap time from Ramsey, I just wish I knew where exactly he lost it. Cameron Dance is yet to stop as well, down to the top 4, being your yet-to-be pitters. And we are now in the second half of this race. So I will be curious to see how much longer some of these drivers press on for. Because I suppose you could come in now and thrash the second set of tyres, but over the course of 7 laps. Or I guess you could thrash these ones longer and then do less laps on the final set. All the question marks that are left to be discovered. We should also go look at the battle for P number 10 if you can. Yeah, Matthew Deere, though, has just made it up the inside. Harry Dodds, though, is just come out of the pits on cold rubber, so he might be able to stick your nose in it. And you got Peter Pavlovich just ahead of them both in the 216 Century Motorsports machine. So this could be a 3-way scrap if Harry can warm the car up in due course. You've also got John Courtney and Corey Lazarus in the background of shot, also eyeing each other off there, Jay.
Yeah, they're not far away from these guys as well. If they work together, they might get themselves into the back of that group. So, but that damage on Lazarus's car from that lap 1 kerfuffle, pretty nasty, but positive is the engine's in the rear, so affecting horsepower, but definitely affecting aero and cooling.
Yeah, it do be one of those kinds of days for Corey Lazarus to be putting on a bit of a sad face for his Porsche 992 Cup car. And also looks to be hurting his straight line speed because he's pulled out from the toe of John Courtney and just hit a brick wall in a straight line. As I just hear Simon Zomo jump on the radio. Anthony Green has let Mez by without any kind of fuss. And yeah, everyone but Gordon Ramsay is lapping in the 148s. Unfortunately for Gordon Ramsay, he is 2 seconds off the pace, doing 1 minute 50s, and I think will be very much vulnerable. As Deere up the inside of Pavlovich on live pitches whilst we're looking at the replay. See if we can grab it, because Pavlovich, I think, is going to go for the crisscross here, thanks to a wobble on the exit for Deere. And Dodds, now with 1 lap on his tyres, he might want to play with this group here as well as they work their way through. NASCAR Ben, though, is advantage Deere.
Lazarus
has gotten through indeed. Oh, here we go. Oh, a little nudge for Pavlovich versus Dodds. That's going to check the pair of them up. And oh, bit of a shut the door moment, perhaps, from Peter versus Harry, as Ramsey has gone off the hog pen. He'll go straight to the pit lane with that. But, well, if you thought Simon Mazzomo was going to catch him on pure pace, well, unfortunately, he's just been given a gift horse there from Gordon, who was looking way off the road there. In fact, yeah, oh my God, that's a long way off of the hog pen for the 103. As Lazarus, oi, oh, hold it. He does catch it. John Courtney Probably not what he wanted to see out the nose of the 65. And here's what happened to Gordon.
Much curb. 16, 17, hits the curb, won't turn. Obviously, he's gone off weeds. Anthony Green's come in after his little off-line excursion as well. Turn 1 to let Mazomo through. I don't think it was fully letting Mazomo through. I think it was a little more nerves involved in that as well. Gap between Mazomo and Hinz is still stable as well. So Sproul out ahead of Ramsey, and Peterson not far away as well. For Peterson on the fresh tyres, or sorry, on the better tyres in regards to heat, may close this gap down. Be ruining those couple of errors he made on those cold tyres now, because if he didn't, he might already be closed up enough to be in this fight.
Yeah, and maybe even ahead, although
Yeah.
I guess at the same time, the only reason Ramsey is right there is Ramsey's giant error at the hog pen. So it's a whole lot of, ifs,
A lot of
buts,
what
and
ifs.
maybes. Yeah, a lot of yes. Indeed, this race is definitely serving those things up here for us today. Hinz stays out for another lap. He will go to lap number 12 on this set of tyres. So will Dance at the front of the field. Looks like they're going to go all the way, I think, to the end of the compulsory pit window, which would put them at the end of lap number 14, if they're listening to me. I don't think they would be, or hope they are, but for all I know, Cam is, and he's just going to pit to make me look like an absolute...
Cam probably is listening in.
And that would make me, just a poor... Make me look like an absolute shocker when it comes to strategy.
Just made a mistake right on cue.
So maybe he is, a little over-focused on... Well, how's this? Top 3 are still lapping basically within a tenth of each other. If we could pull up lap times, or we'll have a look at the little moment here. So, NASCAR Bend, it's a narrow entry, and it's a wide exit. Okay. Rear
About a
tyres.
second.
Yeah, that was actually quite costly. Yes, turn 10. That looked a little more sketchy, I think, than it was, perhaps. And yeah, cold tyres for Ramsey. Ben Peterson closing inside of a second, 9/10 to be precise. He's going to have to keep the rhythm up for himself in the 81 and just slowly work the pressure on to the 103 as they had 5 laps to go at the line. That, though, pushing through the corner like so at the Snake. Start off the Snake. That's not going to help the rears of the 81 machine to do what they want to do best. And those still within that 9/10 margin, just.
Never driven this track before. This is by far the most fun section. That segment there through 7, 8, 9, and 10. Uphill, blind apex at 9 as you hook it right. It's a very, very fun section of track. And you want proof that Cam Dance is listening to you? It's.
Thanks, Cam. Anyways.
He's trying to turn you into a strategist.
Well, but a shocking one at that, because I literally said that surely just go to the end and then finish up on the freshest rubber possible as we check back in with Ramsey. The gap is now half a second to Ben Peterson behind as these two try and work each other over. Look at that there from Ramsey. Actually looked a little more in control. Peterson got a little loose, and they're rapidly catching Sam Sproul.
Hammer Dance has received a black flag.
Yep. Someone didn't check their... right, yeah, okay, so those fronts are gone.
I think he's changing 4 now.
Well, we'll see here what his pit time is. It ticks up.
Sam Sproul's had a big error on that last lap.
He's still going slow, Jay. I think he might be about to get past.
Just a tyre, potentially?
Oh, hang on. The left rear corner's damaged. And a 155.8.
Yeah. Last lap,
Although,
very slow.
I'm going to fast forward through the lap. I'll tell you where it happened. Oh, up at the oak tree. And I reckon, hang on board with him now live. The steering is okay, I think. But the oak tree with the 606 has not gone to plan here, Jay.
Steer, understeer, understeer, bang, that's wall. Lucky it's a tyre bundle and not a concrete wall, but yeah, it's heavy damage. That'll be hurting his straight line speed. 0 straight line speed at the moment for Thomas Hinds because he's in the lane, gets his tyres done. Oh, he's got some straight line speed back. How much is the gap between he and Mazzomo? More than enough.
Yeah, we didn't see that. Oh, Lazarus has gone around by himself. And Cameron Nance had come out just in front of him. Oh dear. The Blackout Motorsport boys are having a wee bit of a drama in this second and final race of the evening. The 606, yeah, coming on. He's getting hunted down now by Ramsey, and Peterson is not in a position to really keep the pressure on the 103 as they make their way around the circuit here. So 3 to go at the line. My apologies. It's lap 14, not lap 15. Slow down, we're not there yet. And it now looks to me as though our focus for the rest of the race will probably want to be here. As this is, well, actually, that's a lie. We've got this group of 3, but then we've sort of got 2 pairs in Craig Mason, Matthew Deere, Harry Dodds, and then Peter Pavlovich that we could look at over the course of the race. And then also whether Corey Lazarus can catch up. John Courtney will help him out there with a small error at turn 1. And yep, up the inside goes number 4. Take that place back that he lost last lap. Meanwhile, back up the front with this fight third on board with Ramsey working into the oak tree. See this whole game of how deep in do you go, how much apex curb as well do you take up here, it seems. And then, what kind of run do you get down the Madison Avenue here, Jay?
Line with 2 more to go. Gap at the front is staying at that 6-second bracket. Just seen something in the odds off.
Oh, yep. Yep, it is indeed up the entry to Oak Tree at turn 11. And another driver pushing a little too hard this time with a bit of a trail of evidence to prove it.
Out the wall, though.
He did, yes. Just, unfortunately, a rough...
Oh, he stalled it.
Oh, nasty. We better get back to live if we can, though, Jay, because Ramsey has arrived on the bumper of Sproul at turn 1, but Sproul has fended off the spot, and Peterson is back in the equation. So here's what we just missed whilst looking at the replay of Harry Dodds, and you'll see here, defensive from Sproul. Ramsey tried it, was ahead on the way to the apex, but Sproul pulls it up, turns it, get on the exit, and gets going again. Now live as we look here at Peterson trying to get on the bumper of the 103 of Ramsey. Up through the snake they go for the second last time tonight, given Sproul that little bit of a breather that he'll want, but Madison Avenue beckons once again. And Matthew Deere, I think, closer to Craig Mason than he was last time around as well, so we could have 2 battles to watch on this final lap, depending on how the way things shake out here.
Matthew Deere's closed in very, very quickly. Last lap, 1.4 seconds quicker, so battle for 6 between Mason and Deere will well and truly be on with a lap and a half to go. Thomas Hinds will cross the line in just a moment to start the final lap of the race. Here he comes. Barney's got the white flag ready. Love Barney's new flag animation. It looks very, very cool.
It looks cool, but there's a certain nostalgic touch that I can appreciate for Barney's traditional flag wave.
Yeah, the new flag wave does look a lot more realistic, though. It does look like how a flaggy would do it, but yes, there is something about Barney's attempt to damage his shoulder. Here comes Gordon Ramsay. You're going to have to go the long way again. Sproul does a great job of holding that inside line there. We've seen so many that are defending the inside just drift wide and over-under move completes. Happened at turn 1, but Sam Sproul did a great job there, but he's left himself open at NASCAR, and there's move done from Gordon Ramsay. Great move. Here comes Peterson.
Oh, a little tap into the back bumper. It's going to send Ramsey and Sproul wide. Can Peterson? No, he can't get in position to crisscross through the snake. It would be incredibly hard to do so anyways, and he gets checked up as they exit the snake as well. Ramsey is given the home run free, it seems, here now, up through his final part of the first half of the lap. Your top two heading down Madison Avenue, but our eyes will stay here, I think, as Peterson is desperately searching for any way through here. But the great thing is, of course, we've got multiple cameras, cameras per se in session, and we can bring the action to you here live on both sides of the screen. Hins down through the hog pen for the final time. No pressure on him, no issues at all for the 52, who will round the final corner. Peterson with an absolutely monumental slipstream. In the meantime, he will take the place away from Sproul, but it'll be Thomas Hins to the top in race number 2, and that will mean he will walk away the round winner as Ramsey's off through the roller coaster. Peterson will be promoted to up into 3rd.
Wow, that's huge for Gordon Ramsay to lose that spot, and Sproul drops a spot. Mazzomo picks up 2nd convincingly. Ben Pedersen, he would have thought at the start of that lap, I'll be happy if I get 1, but he gets 2.
And Sprout tries to go with him in the tow, and he kind of keeps it somewhat even in the tow, but unfortunately for the 606, the damage is well and truly done. Matthew Deere gets by Craig Mason off screen on the final lap, and he will take 6th place ahead of the 47. Peter Pavlovich will hang on for 8th place, but we'll get to the full race results once everyone has come to the line. As your top two in race number 2, take a moment there, I think, to acknowledge each other for our race winner and round winner too as well, with 2nd and 1st to his name. Cameron Dance's accidents in race number 2 tonight will gift the round overall to the Team Jinx Shifters / Henry James Racing Machine here on your screens. As with everyone across the line, bar one. There's always one, Jay, it seems, tonight. When I think about maybe we should go for the results, but alas, not quite. We're almost there. Get there soon enough. And any second now. There we go. Everyone is across the line. And I believe the results should come to us in a moment here on your screens to bring things to a conclusion. And indeed, there we go. 7.3 seconds from Thomas Hins to Simon Mazzomo. Ben Peterson, 29.2 seconds back. No safety cars. A little bit of drama for the 81, but nevertheless, a convincing margin for your top two there tonight. Samuel Sprout, definitely a case of what he wished it could have been with the 606, but able to still bring it home in 4th for race 2. For Gordon Ramsay there, big old error, unfortunately, there for him. Will send him back to 5th. Matthew Deere brings it home in 6th place. It's Craig Mason there in 7th, and Peter Pavlovich and Cameron Dance the next two across the line there in 8th and 9th. And Harry Dodds, a minute down, will round out your top 10. And our final finishing drivers in the lead lap will be Lazarus in 11th, John Corton 12th, and Anthony Green in 13th. And unfortunately, a battery of retirements. Stead Miller, Lindsay Hobbs, Isaac Edwards, Mark Noble, and Taylor Oakes not taking the race start to round things out, or our drivers here tonight. And that will do us for support series coverage from Virginia International Raceway. And it means that for the drivers who are here tonight at least, they'll start turning their attention forwards to the 8th event of the supports calendar. Road Atlanta, continuing our East Coast journey, will play host to the next round, but it will be the 2-litre Tourers and the V8s, which will do the action. We won't see the Flat 6s back until August at Imola. And for the Flat 4s, same. They'll be sharing that round then. So front-wheel drive touring car action, and then big Bruiser V8 action coming your way on Friday, the 23rd of June from 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But that is going to do it for tonight for us, Jay. Closing thoughts from you here in the box?
That was a very, very eventful night. I mean, this is one of the best tracks in the world, so no surprise. But I think some of the action caught a few drivers out. The understeer probably drivers out a little bit. Expecting Shapes up for a great weekend, and Sunday is going to be absolute hectic. A long time since we've raced V8SCOPS here at VIR, and I'm very, very excited to see how it plays out.
And I've got a total of 3 races thanks to Super Split 2 and then sprint round racing for the main game in Split 1 to think about as well. So we'll see how drivers choose to approach the racing with that format in mind. On behalf of Jay Kennedy and the team at SimSpeed, my name is Daniel Gaiman. Thank you all for joining us here this evening. Hope you've appreciated some of the slightly interesting commentary from the two of us. But this is what you get now with 2 producers in a comms box. It's never necessarily the most coherent commentary. And yeah, apparently I'm thinking too far forward into the future. Make sure you stay tuned this weekend. As Jay has mentioned, we have got tons of broadcasting coverage coming your way this weekend. Do you have Grand Prix Tour tomorrow morning?
Yes, I do. 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
And I think I'm crazy. This man's even more insane. Grand Prix Tour back tomorrow morning for those who are running in the Class A W13 series. The Majors 24 live at 10:45. Are we going slightly?
Yep.
Or 10:30?
Go then for a bit of qualifying. Hyperpole.
Hyperpole, there you go. So that will be getting before the race gets underway at 11 o'clock or 11:15. Yep. 11 o'clock race start, but make sure you catch some of the Hyperpole. And then that's 6 hours. Then we're back with Majors and V8SCOPS Sunday night. My name's Danny Naiman. Jay Kennedy with me in the comms box here for the support tonight. Thank you again for watching. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll hopefully see you back this weekend for some more of this action here on SimSpeed TV. Bye for now.